Even in very, very bad case outcomes and valuation methods, we are worth over $100 million.
Today's guest built one of the fastest growing apps in the world at 21 years old.
To get our first users, like instead of the natural step that now people should take of make TikToks, I would go to the dining halls, I would like steal cookies, and then I would set up a booth. And basically I would say, sign up for Turbo and I'll give you a cookie.
Two childhood best friends with a mutual love for software, they dropped out of college after a groundbreaking realization.
It's not enough to just solve a problem. That company needs to generate enough money to sustain itself independently. Whenever someone else puts money into your company, they get equity. You don't actually make the decisions anymore.
Today, they've built Turbo AI, an education tool that's changing how millions of college students learn while earning them millions of dollars a year.
If you look at some of the most viral influencers who tell story time content, they're always doing something in the video. So instead of just a creator sitting there and saying, use Turbo, can we take a creator and make her cut fruit in all of our videos? People would see these creators on their For You page and be like, oh my God, they just feel like an influencer.
In this episode, we'll investigate how they disrupted modern education, explore how the most successful kids are using AI to succeed, and see exactly what it takes to make you and your best friend billionaires. Rudy, Arora, and Sarthak, Dhawan. Welcome to the Jack Neel Podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, excited.
A good place to start here. You guys built one of the top education apps in the world. How much money did you make last month?
A little over $1 million.
And how old are you guys?
21.
So you guys are 21. Most people your age are broke college kids in a dorm room. Made $1 million last month. How?
We started the company around 2 years ago, and since then I've just been chipping away at it. Right now we're at around 8 million users, and a lot of our users pay us a subscription, so we just have a lot of recurring revenue built up. And then we're also growing pretty fast, adding a lot of users every day.
But the real answer is like the question behind the question. It hasn't just been 2 years where all the learnings have come from. Rudy and I are actually like childhood best friends from Texas. We met in middle school, and we've been tinkering on projects, ideating on different startups. So it's been a long journey to get here. It hasn't just been 2 years.
What was the first thing you guys built together?
I can go back a little bit more than the first thing we built together. My side of the background is I'm on the technical side. I've been coding since like 3rd grade. My brother got me into it like insanely young. And when I was in middle school, going into high school, around when I met Rudy, our district had this grade portal that was absolutely terrible. It was incredibly shitty to use. Long load times, it looked ugly. I was learning coding, so I was like, you know what? Why don't I just try to build an app that looks pretty? It's aesthetic. You can do cool things like calculating future grades, and let me release it and let's see what happens. And within the next year, it ended up getting 40,000 daily active users just from word of mouth growth. And I sort of remember going to school and seeing other people, like classmates, other people in district, using my app, not knowing that it was me. And I was just in love with building things and startups because I was like, wow, they're finding value in something that I built. I want to keep doing this.
What was that called?
It was called Gratify.
Gratify? So you got 40,000 users in how long?
It was like year and a half.
And how old were you?
9th grade.
So about 14, 13?
Something like that, yeah.
So that was the first thing you built.
That was the first real thing that I'd built that got like real traction. Yeah.
And was the first thing you built with him, or did you build something on your own?
We built it together. So around same time, 9th grade, I realized like a problem that my family faced was that it was really hard to get in touch with contractors to put up Christmas lights. Like my parents would call dozens and dozens of people, and they were either fully booked out, super expensive, or just did not have availability. So I was like, can I start a company around the problem that it's hard to find Christmas lights installers? So at that point, I thought of the idea. I had made like a Google form, gone around my neighborhood, knocking on doors, collecting orders. And then I was like, wait, this would be so much better through an app. And at the same time, Sarthak and Gratify. And I was like, we're great friends, and I know that he's incredibly technical. Let's partner, work together. And then together we worked on a company called Workbee, which was basically a marketplace for putting up Christmas lights. And we made like $60,000. And this was the main thing that we worked throughout high school that was the first thing that any of us monetized.
You made $60K revenue over what time frame?
2.5 years.
So how much profit was that?
It was less. It was like our margins were like
10%,
10%. So it was like
10K.
less than $10,000.
So you guys just saved the money, or did you buy anything with it?
No.
Just save the money.
Boring answer.
So we'll get more into your backstory in a bit, but how long did it take you guys to build an app that makes $1 million a month?
The initial app, we were going into both of our freshman year at colleges. I was going to Duke, he was going to Northwestern. And the initial app took around 2 to 3 months. But this was also, when we were building it, this was a time where AI coding tools weren't really a thing. Vibe coding is not. I was barely even using AI to code at all because GPT 3.5 is out and it's borderline useless when it comes to anything technical. So obviously those timelines are like way, 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 way shorter now.
2.5 months?
Yeah.
Okay. And how long would that take today, for reference?
Oh, building that MVP would be like days probably. I mean, if I took that same thing that I built, 2 years ago, but now did it today, I think I'd get to the same spot in like 2 days, a day probably.
Just to kind of give the blueprint, if you had to grow an app from 0 to 1 million users in 6 months, how would you do it?
I would say the first thing is to figure out what is your goal with this app, right? Is this something that you want to be a venture scalable startup, or do you want to make a lifestyle cash flow business where you extract quick cash out of it? Because my answer and advice I would give would be slightly different for both situations. Whichever one you want to talk about, we can dive into.
That's funny you say that. That's what I've come to realize as well. It's like you're either building to sell or you're building to make money and like have money in your life. So, well, you guys started as a cash flow cow originally, right?
We never started as a cash cow, but when we first made Turbo, we were not sure where the future lies. So we haven't paid ourselves a lot from Turbo. We just have only, a year and a half ago, 6 months into the company, come to the conviction and conclusion that like this is the thing we want to work on for the next 10 years and that we want to build a multi-billion-dollar company rather than paying ourselves a big salary and cash flowing it like a lot of consumer apps.
So if I wanted to build something that made me $1 million and I keep the profit, yeah, give me that process.
Okay, let's get the thing straight. So you want to get $1 million
in profit
in
in 6
monthly,
months.
yeah,
as fast as possible.
In monthly profit in 6 months.
Awesome. So one thing that I will say with a
or
lot
revenue,
of
revenue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Very different.
Very
super different.
Yeah.
Okay. One thing that I will say, we see a lot of sensational headlines around, founders of consumer apps making a shit ton of money monthly. The asterisk behind those numbers that a lot of people don't talk about is when you get such ridiculous growth, the marketing spend behind that is also really, really high. So the actual like cash flow on a monthly basis, like how much is the bank account increasing per month, is a vastly, vastly different story. And the reason that people don't talk about it is because it's almost always not like rainbows and sunshine.
The thing that's flashy is 18-year-old making $30 million a year.
But is your bank account going up $30 million a year?
Absolutely
Hell
not.
No.
And the one
no,
thing
it's
that
not.
differentiates your bank account going up over a long time horizon is usually your retention and like your churn rate, I'm guessing,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah, that's the thing that builds stable recurring revenue.
But there's a big asterisk around that because the reality is software businesses, it used to be that retention is all that matters because the gross margins on like a premium user are pretty good for software, historically speaking. And the reason that the gross margins were good, historically speaking, is because software to actually maintain on a monthly basis is not super expensive. For example, if you bought a Discord subscription, Discord isn't that expensive to maintain. So if you're paying Discord $5 a month, those $5 are pretty much all profit. The problem with AI businesses is LLM inference, like, talking to those actual AI models is quite expensive. So we're sort of in this flipped environment now where even if you do have great retention, if the cost of the models per month is like, a lot of money, then that's actually not a great business model. Let me give you a super good example. Cursor. Cursor, because of the nature of being an AI coding agent, they have to use the best models. Otherwise, developers are just going to go somewhere else. And because they have to use the best models also happen to be very expensive. So their gross margins, even on paying subscribers, are not very fantastic because a subscriber might be paying Cursor $20 per month, but the cost to actually use those AI tools might even be more than, $20 per month. Our team alone of like 10 engineers, we spend like 20 to 30 grand on Claude Code every month. So a lot of these numbers are just not, they're misleading, in my opinion, especially with AI, because a lot of the unit economics have been fundamentally changed for software.
I think a better question to ask might be, if I wanted to take an app from $0 to $10,000 a month,
Yeah.
What are the exact steps if you had to break it down into 5 steps?
If you're starting with zero cash, right, and you don't have venture funding, I would, when thinking of app ideas, work backwards from what would go viral on social media. So with Turbo, for example, there's sort of an aha moment when making content about Turbo. It's like you put in a lecture recording or you put in a PDF, and as an output, you get notes and quiz questions. There's apps like Cal AI, where it's like you take a picture of your food, and as the output, you get how many calories it has. With Umax, you take a picture of yourself and it tells you how attractive you are. So I would say that if you're starting from $0 in the bank account, something that you need to optimize for is being able to go viral on social media with your product. And something that correlates a lot with virality, in my opinion, is whether or not your product has an aha moment that paints a picture of what the product does. So if we look at Calm, right, the meditation app, even though it's a great app, I think that Calm may not be able to do viral marketing very well through no fault of their own, other than the fact that there's not a singular aha moment in the product. There's like a bunch of workflows built out to help you meditate, but there's not a singular, like, you put this in, you get this out. So I would say work backwards by trying to think about, here's a viral moment that I want to have where it goes from input to output, and then start to actually design what the app would look like on your end.
So I would say, if we had to break it down into 2 super duper simple steps, the first one is, like Rudy said, can this even go viral? That's how you're going to get a lot of attention. Now, the second problem, which is where a lot of apps fail, is, would someone actually pay for this? There's a lot of ideas that I've heard about, like, mainly consumer social apps, where it's like, connect with your friends, like Instagram for plumbers, I don't know, whatever it is. No one's going to pay for that. It doesn't make sense. So get a viral video. Step A, prove that you can get attention. The second step is prove that someone would actually pay for it.
I have a quick gift for you. So I've interviewed some of the most successful young guys in the world trying to figure out what the best way is to make money online. And I've realized that clipping is probably the fastest way to make your first 10K online a month. So that's why I want to give you the chance right now to make money clipping this podcast on Content Rewards. Content Rewards pays out over $1 million a month to creators who clip videos for brands like Netflix, F1, Polymarket, and now this podcast. It's pretty easy to understand. You just clip the podcast that I went on last week, post it to your social media, and you get paid $1 for every 1,000 views you get on the video. So if you want to make money listening to podcasts or watching your favorite creators, just go to jackneel.com/clipping or scan the QR code on screen. Again, that's jackneel.com/clipping if you want to get paid for clipping this podcast. But anyway, guys, back to the episode.
And the best way to do this is, if you're coming from an engineering background, you think, oh, let me go build out this amazing app. Fade that. Don't even worry about building the app. The first most important thing is, let's get a paywall up, and let's put the paywall super early. Free trial, 3 days, 7 days. And when someone hits the app, hit them with that paywall and see if anyone bites. If 0 people bite, that means A, you might be able to get attention, but no one actually cares about the problem enough, meaning that that app is not your winner. But if you get both of those 2 things, both attention and the ability to get someone to pay for it, then that means your idea has real legs, and then you can focus on building the actual app, getting engineers, designers, figuring out how the actual execution phase is going to go. But if you can't do those two things, there's no point even trying to build it. You're wasting your time.
That's really good advice, honestly. The advice I'd come to the conclusion after speaking with Zach Yadagari about this, founder of Cal AI, was make a video and see if it even goes viral first, which is also good. But after speaking with Amjad just now and him telling me like how quick it is to build and deploy an app, I was like, oh, you can just like actually build it. But what you're saying is a good middle ground of build a paywall for it.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that paywall lead to? Like when you're testing something?
Yeah, so this is a little bit of a
gray area, because it's like, okay, you scam like one person.
Yeah, you scam one person. Yeah, but basically you get a free trial going, let's say 7 days, and see if anyone even bites. It's honestly a very good strategy, because as soon as you get your first paywall, you get your first conversion from free to paid. Now you know that your idea has legs, and you also happen to not have a product. So the clock is ticking. You got 7 days, you got a week. You got to make sure that now you're funneling real users, real people into your app that doesn't work. So you need to make sure you're working 24/7 to make that app work. And I tend to find that artificial deadlines are a super effective way at getting shit done, because it's good to have your back against the wall.
Right. Because that one person you scammed might feel vengeful, and they're like, I'm going to build this out myself.
Exactly.
Yeah, that happened to us. Our first user asked for a refund.
Yeah, I actually tried this myself with, I think I was just testing an info product. I was like, would anyone pay for some form of like grow your podcast course? I just sold it for like $300 and had one person. I had to send him a Venmo. And I was like, okay, maybe, but not as much attention as I thought it would. But it was really a play for me as well to collect data. Like I sent them through this whole funnel of like, what do you want? What do you want inside of it? Okay, here it is. And then it was like nothing, just a checkout page. But imagine that I'm someone with zero coding experience and I need to build that like MVP or even that checkout page, like what tools you're using, what software, like really break it down as though like I'm a 5-year-old kid.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you have no coding experience?
Zero.
Are you willing to learn how to code? A little bit?
Maybe I'll use something like Lovable or Replit.
Right.
Yeah,
cool. And then you're trying to get like an initial MVP going.
Right.
Yeah. So I'll give 2 answers. My first answer is that day 0, no resources, don't know how to code.
Let's say you have $100.
You have $100. Okay, so basically no resources. No resources, and you don't know how to code, and you can't find someone that is going to be able to help you. You should
just not build an app.
You guys are the first people to say this.
No. So the perspective that I'm coming from is just seeing the problem here is you don't know what you don't know. So
if something breaks, you can't fix it.
You can't fix it. You also don't know why things are bad, because effectively when you vibe code, like truly vibe code, just let AI do the work and you're not even looking at what's going on. You can't even, the thing with experience in any discipline is the reason it's valuable is it gives you the knowledge to be able to say how something is going to go wrong or right before it happens. And in the same way that that's valuable in, I don't know, finance, it's valuable in engineering. But let's go back to the situation. Your best bet for coding tools is not a low-code platform like Lovable, just because you might get locked in at some point. Your best bet is A, get views, and then B, I would hop on Claude Code and I would just start asking questions, a crazy amount of questions. So you're going to start, you need to build an app. What is the first question? How are apps built? Really dumb question. And it'll tell you, hey man, you can code an app with Swift or React Native. Your next question is, what is Swift? What is React Native? And the great part about Claude is it'll tell you. And it's going to say, Swift has these pros, React Native has these pros. Every single time you see a word that you don't know, which will probably be 90% of the words, you got to make sure to ask it, what does that mean? and then you can make progress. Eventually, you'll have a basic enough understanding, relatively quickly actually, with, okay, I understand which frameworks I want to use, which ones are most popular for these reasons. And these are non-technical things. And now you can just tell the AI, cool, let's start with building a fitness app. And the really important thing about using AI coding tools is that they're like a friend who like wants to jump into things too quickly. You tell them that you want to build a fitness app, and the AI coding tool is going to be like, fantastic, I'll build it right now. Your job as the person prompting the LLM is to slow the AI down. You're supposed to say, wait, before we jump into coding, let's make a plan. So as a non-technical individual, your job is to collect as much information about what the app is going to look like, what is the most minimum viable product that someone would pay for. Try to do as less as possible and make sure that your vision for what the app is going to look like on V0 is incredibly clear. Because the less clear it is, the more the AI is going to be confused. And once you have a clear vision for what this super duper simple V0 application that people will pay for is just put it on the App Store. Easier said than done, but that's like a pretty general formula for how someone could go about learning coding. The only asterisk is...
How long would that take?
It would depend on the person. I don't know.
Within a month, you could...
Within a couple of weeks, you can get something on the App Store.
Foundational enough understanding to get something in the App Store, and it like somewhat makes sense.
Got it. So you think a lot of these build an app in 5 minutes is like a little bit sensationalized?
You can, but it's just like you're going to have to start over the entire code base the minute you validate the idea. And then the question is, okay, I want to start over the code base. Who is going to do the coding and take it forward?
Maybe the more interesting question is, let's think backwards for a second. How do these AI models actually work? The way they work is you take basically the entire internet and you just shove it into a model. And it learns based on patterns. Because fundamentally what an LLM is, it's just predicting the next token. So if you're trying to build something that has been built 19,000 times before, then yeah, the LLM is going to be amazing at it. You can tell it, build me a tic-tac-toe app. And because there's so many coding tutorials on the internet on building tic-tac-toe apps, it'll be able to just one-shot the entire thing. You won't have to even prompt it at all. But the nature of businesses is the reason that they make money a lot of times is it's something new. If you're just going to build a tic-tac-toe app, obviously no one is going to pay for it. So they're sort of fundamentally a little bit incompatible, which is the reason I say that if you want to build an app that makes $10K a month, then you can't be building apps that LLMs have seen a million times, because if they've seen it a million times, that means it's easy. And if it's easy, it would have already been like, there's no argument there.
I think that's all super useful and really fascinating and humbling a little bit. But a few weeks is still sexy, I think, to people.
Super sexy.
How'd you guys come up with the app idea?
So we were sitting in a cafe brainstorming ideas for things to work on because we decided to shut down the old Christmas lights business. And this happened to be our favorite idea. As for like the actual ideation,
what were the other ideas you were thinking about?
We were trying to make a talking teddy bear.
Yeah.
Shut that down, though. It wasn't
a talking teddy bear.
Bear.
We were trying to put a lot of people are trying to do this, but basically, like, we were like, okay, what if we put a LLM with voice, and we threw that in like a teddy bear, because LLMs have like just come out, like ChatGPT is just a thing, and we sold that to like kids.
Yeah.
But
so I literally like we bought teddy bears off of Amazon, and we would like stab them with knives and try to put hardware
put
in
like a little control chip.
Oh, you mean like a physical product?
Yeah, physical product.
Okay, I thought it was like one of those like talking Tom apps.
No, like actually we were selling like real.
This was like 2023 pre like you being able to talk to GPT.
So you guys were thinking big, because if you did one of those talking Tom apps AI, like, I mean, I know people who make tons of money off like AI avatar apps.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Tolan's a big one.
But a physical product, I've seen some people doing that.
I think it will be pretty big, honestly.
I think there's a huge like company to be made here.
Why'd you guys kill that idea?
One of the reasons that we wanted to shut down Workbee, which was the holiday lighting app, is just the ratio for the amount of effort you put in for the amount of money you get out of it is honestly a huge spectrum for businesses. So with our holiday decorating light business, we would get one order which was $400, let's say, and we'd get 10% off of it. So we make $40. The amount of effort to get those $40 was absolutely insane.
Horrible.
Logistics of like we would go to people's houses with lights and like be like, we'll help you. We'll help the contractor put this up.
Very early stages, right? At the time we made WorkBee, we didn't actually have infrastructure made for order management. So what would happen is we had this beautiful app where people would place orders, and then I'd like look at the picture of someone's house, and then I would have a picture of their house highlighted with where they want their Christmas lights and their phone number. And I would literally like put a quote into their app and then manually like do sales over text. Like I would say, hey, check WorkBee, you got a quote. Is this quote okay? And a lot of times like I'd hop on a phone call with them to like negotiate the pricing, and then over text, like no systems whatsoever, we would like find a date where someone would go to your house and put up Christmas lights.
So you guys built TaskRabbit for Christmas lights pretty much.
Yeah, basically.
Exactly. Yeah.
But instead of TaskRabbit being where they just hand it off to a contractor and it's like their problem now, we were like vertically integrated. So it was our contractors.
How many Christmas lights have you guys put up yourselves?
We didn't put them up, but we would go to houses. So I'll give you an anecdote, right? There's one house in which our contractor put up Christmas lights and the lights didn't work properly. And then the lady like really wanted an additional strip of lighting for one section of the house because it fell off. And this contractor was very unreliable. So he was ghosting both me and the lady at the time. And this lady was freaking out. She was like, I'm going to file a dispute. I'm going to post negatively about you guys in all the mom groups. And we were like, but the poor contractor left. So I literally like bought a string of Christmas lights off of Amazon, and I like went over to her house and like I gave her the lights, and I was looking at like why the lights weren't working. So it was like small things like this when our contractors messed up or something went wrong. But it was because we were trying to be like this vertical platform where we had ownership over everything rather than a TaskRabbit type of thing. Because our whole selling point to these contractors was that they shouldn't have to deal with a lot of the customer support, planning, logistics. They should do what they're best at, which is putting up the actual lighting.
Going back to our ideation process, we were like, well, we have to do all this crazy amount of effort just to get $40. And that's not even recurring. There's no guarantee that we're going to get $40 from them next year. We're going to have to go through the exact same process. And I was like, well, let me think about software, for example. You get someone, they sign up online. You don't have to do any work. They pay by themselves. And then you get money on a recurring basis forever with high margins. It just sounded amazing. And around the same time, AI is also taking off. So we were like, well, you can just sell AI tools to people on a recurring subscription basis, which has, been becoming popular over the last like 10 years. And that sounds a million times better than trying to sell in-person Christmas lights. It was honestly a no-brainer. I was like, well, this just is miles more scalable. It's easier. You make more money. It's more fun. It's just like every single pro possible. And this is when AI consumer apps aren't really a thing yet.
Right.
The marketing isn't there. There's no craze about it. No one's really doing it. So we're very early. There was no AI study tools even when we were ideating it.
Really? So this was the first AI study tool to market, or like one of the first?
Yeah, probably for one of the first three, for sure.
And then I guess just generally, how'd you come up with the name? How'd you come up with the MVP? Like, what was kind of the process of launching it? Like, tell me the story there.
So, name is incredibly stupid. I remember we were ideating for a while.
Yeah, we had a list of like 100 names, and we'd ask GPT for help. And I
went on like the Rhyme Zone, and I like looked at synonyms, and I saw turbo, and I saw learn, and we put it together, and we got turbo learn. So very silly. But in terms of ideation, it was actually a problem that I had personally. Right when GPT came out, I was using it a lot to study tools. Let's take an example. I needed to study for APUSH, like AP US History. And the way you study for AP US History and AP Government was making a ton of flashcards. And I really, really wanted to use the flashcards, but I didn't want to make the flashcards myself. So I would do this thing where I just like put it in GPT, and then I'd like export it as like a certain file, and then I'd just make the flashcards myself with like some AI tools. And then the other thing was both of us hated listening to teachers or professors talk.
Right.
Absolutely terrible. I for the life, I I can't take notes and also pay attention to someone at the same time. I can't do it. So I was like, what if, AI did all these things for you, take notes, make your flashcards, make your quiz questions. And that's sort of how the idea of TurboLearn was born. It was actually just a personal problem where regardless of whether it became a big business, we were going to use it in our personal life.
Got it. So that was the initial idea came to you in what year?
Freshman year of college.
Freshman year of college?
Summer before.
Summer before, so it was after you'd done all the AP exams.
Yeah.
And then you guys had studied for all those. Okay, that makes sense to me.
So we were able to go through high school without LLMs, which I think was a huge blessing.
Something that I found is that a lot of really, really good ideas for consumer apps are ones where there's a certain niche of people that are doing that process, but it's early on the adoption curve. So for us, we were already using AI to study. So naturally, it would be true that other students would also want to use AI to study. So it's a great consumer app. But the same pattern follows across like many, many different disciplines and categories. If you think about like Spotify, for example, right? The origins, to the best of my memory, were people were already trying to find ways to listen to music everywhere and just have one platform for everything. The answer was actually just piracy. So there was a small niche of a group of people early on the adoption curve that were already doing this. So it is low-key a very natural conclusion to be able to take that and be like, oh my God, a huge company is there. So for people who are trying to find new ideas, and actually be early to them, which is what's important, right? Like first mover's advantage. I think trying to find these niche groups of people where it's still early on the adoption curve is where the best ideas are. Because once you get to the middle, by that point, it's already saturated, and it's not too late to enter, but your life is going to be significantly harder.
So the niche in your guys' case was college students using AI to study for tests and exams faster.
And the reason that it was so interesting is because AI has just become a thing, basically. ChatGPT has just been launched. So by nature of the fact that it's just been launched, anyone even using AI tools a lot is already early to the adoption curve, whereas now it's like everybody's using them, so it's no longer the case.
Yeah, what did the MVP look like, and what did the launch of it look like? How'd you guys test it?
Yeah, absolutely. So MVP, it was honestly a similar version to what we have right now, but it just didn't work as well. So the MVP was not perfect at all. It had a lot of bugs. In fact, it didn't work very well. So you would put in a PDF, and we used the GPT API to convert that into notes, flashcards, and quizzes. It was just the quality of them was pretty abysmal. But even getting to that point without AI tools just took a decent amount of time. And then originally when we started marketing it, Rudy can talk about it, but we didn't know what worked. So it was a lot of experimentation on areas that were just like, we were doing dumb stuff.
Yeah, it was incredibly inefficient and we learned a lot, but this was before there was a lot of apps doing short form marketing. So right now, if you're starting an app, there's a pretty clear blueprint on, there are these hundreds of apps and here's how they market, here's how they get users. We were pretty early to it. So there were not a lot of consumer apps that were repeatedly going viral. So us coming to the conclusion that like this viral marketing is going to be our thing took a lot of iterations. So
had you guys gone viral before?
No. So to get our first users, like instead of the natural step that now people should take of make TikToks, I was like stealing cookies from the dining hall and giving them out to people at my college campus. And then I was trying to do the strategy where we would have people at their college campus start like an Instagram account and follow people and then unfollow them and then try to like get product awareness in that way. So we just tried and experimented.
You were stealing cookies? I'm confused.
I would go to the dining halls. I would like steal cookies and then I would set up a booth and basically I would say sign up for Turbo and I'll give you a cookie. So I did like...
Is that how you got your first user?
Yeah. So I gave out like 1,000 cookies, I think. And Sarthak did the same thing at Duke.
People got so annoyed at us.
Yeah.
They were like, not these
the
dudes.
cookie kids.
Yeah, not these dudes again.
They started calling me Turbo on campus. We were blowing up on like Fizz, which is like the inter-college social network, not in a good way. I remember there's like a meme of me. holding like a bunch of cookies or something that went viral.
One thing,
But, yeah.
one thing that we did, which was like kind of funny, not an effective marketing strategy at all, is we got posters of like an advertisement, and I won't say what, but we put them on every single bathroom stall in like all of Duke, for example. And I went with my friends, so every single time someone would go to take a shit, they'd sit down, and then they'd see a Turbo ad because there'd be a poster inside the bathroom stall.
Quick question. How many different apps, software subscriptions are you using to run your business? Because if you're anything like me, you're probably doing email marketing on one platform, you built your website on another platform, and calendar appointments, CRM somewhere else. You're paying hundreds, thousands of dollars a month on all these tools, and you can barely keep track of anything. And that's why my team started using High Level. It's basically an operating system for our entire business all in one place. You can keep track of leads, send automated emails and text, build landing pages, and process payments all in one platform, $97 a month. So if you want to stop paying for 8 different subscriptions, just go to jackneel.com/highlevel or scan the QR code on screen. You can also hit the first link in the description, but again, that is jackneel.com/highlevel if you want to run your entire business all in one place. But anyway, guys, back to the podcast.
Dude, I remember that. So it started this my freshman year of college, end of sophomore year. So throughout this time, they'd taken down most of the posters, but I remember going to a bathroom end of sophomore year, taking a shit, and there's a poster.
Yeah.
Do you guys have the posters?
Yeah. It said,
we can pull them out.
Yeah.
Huh.
They basically said, have a poop emoji professor.
Shitty professor.
Shitty professor who talks too fast. Used Turbo to take notes.
Yeah. And then people thought it was really funny.
Yeah.
But I don't think we got very many users.
So that's the Scrappiest thing you guys did to market your app?
It's up there.
Yes, it's up
Up
there.
there. We've done a lot. The scrappiest thing. I would say this is the scrappiest thing. Like, we've done things that are more effective, but in terms of like actual scrappiness, I would say it's this. Yeah.
Putting flowers up in the bathroom.
Putting
have
flowers
a
up in
shitty
the
professor.
Have a
That's funny.
shitty professor.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
love
What's really
that.
funny is that like it was not an effective marketing strategy, but like at least at Duke, there's like I think I've seen 20 other startups that thought that was the way that we grew because they see that we have 8 million users now, and they thought we got 8 million users by putting up posters. So there's like 20 random startups started by students where they just put up flyers and they don't get any growth, and they're like, "What happened?" So we started a bad trend
Right.
where they thought that was linked to success, but it wasn't linked to success at all. It was actually just a failed thing.
It's so funny. Some people like intentionally do that. I feel like I intentionally do that for podcasting. Like, people are like, "Oh my God, you have all these viral clips. Like, does it grow the podcast?" I'm like, "Yeah, bro. Like, you should spend a lot of time on clips. That's why we're so
totally
viral."
goes the podcast.
Like, the algorithms are completely different on long form content and short form content. And a lot of people who watch clips just watch clips. And people who watch long form just watch long form.
Yeah, it's
Something
just-
people don't really think about.
Yeah.
I'll probably have to cut that. No, I'm joking. You guys make your viral clips if you're podcasters. We'll get into like the most effective marketing techniques, but I'm confused. Where does UMax fit into all this?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're sort of having the initial ideas for Turbo as we're both getting into starting at Duke, starting at Northwestern. After our first freshman fall, I meet Blake Anderson, founder of UMax and Cal AI now, through a friend at
And
Duke.
RizGPT is his
And
first one.
RizGPT.
Right.
RizGPT. So at this time, at point in time, Blake has only done RizGPT, and he's sort of ideated. He has the idea for UMax, and he sort of built he's like vibe coded an initial entry version of the app, and he's starting to get a couple of users, and he's looking for like a technical co-founder. And one of my friends who's a senior at Duke, who's also, I don't know if you've heard of like Style, the app,
Tinder for clothes.
Tinder for clothes. He got like a couple 100,000 users or something like that. But he's my friend. He's at Duke, and he intros me to Blake. And Blake's looking for a technical founder. So we start talking. And that very next semester, I think a gap semester from Duke, moved to San Francisco because we get into this like crazy accelerator. And me and Blake were growing UMax. Took it from whatever when I joined 4,000 users to now we're at like I think 20 million or something. But
It has 20 million users,
total downloads, yeah.
20 million downloads.
That is
How much did that do monthly? Or can you not share that?
Our best month was a little bit over 1 million, I think, around there. But it was very volatile.
And how much, just give people a rundown of what that app does.
Yeah, absolutely. So UMax is an app where you take a picture of your face and an AI tells you how hot you are using quantifiable numbers. So it tells you you are a 87 out of 100, and your potential is a 96 out of 100. And the reason it was so amazing is because looks maxing as a niche was not monetized at all. So we went to influencers, Kay Shami, Dylan Latham, all the looks maxing crew, and we said, hey, you plug this app into your videos, we'll pay you with influencer marketing. And it went super duper viral, and people paid.
And then how did that turn into you guys working on Turbo?
So we had the idea for Turbo before UMax, and we done a little bit of the foundational work of building an MVP. And we had at this point like less than 1,000 users. So when Sarthak got the opportunity for UMax, we were treating Turbo as more of like a fun project. We were not sure that this is like the company of our lives. So Sarthak was like, should I go to UMax? And I was like, as your co-founder, yes, please go to UMax. This is a huge opportunity. You get to live in this hacker house, and you get to learn a lot, because we weren't sure that Turbo would be like the company. While Sarthak was at UMax, and working on that, I was like simultaneously exploring other ideas while also just putting in 20, 30 hours a week into Turbo to see if like there's something we can do. So when Sarthak was in San Francisco doing UMax, I was just making TikToks and trying to figure out how to market it. And then at that point, we started to pick up a little bit of traction. So during that semester, a span of like 4 or 5 months, I got it to the point where we were doing like 30K a month. And that's when UMax and their residency wrapped up. And then started like seeing that, cool, now we've gotten to the point where there's traction, there's a real business here. We then both went, fully all in on Turbo.
So you'd already made $1 million a month with UMax before that point.
Technically, yeah.
And then you basically were like, oh shit, this thing's working. Like you built it while he was gone, and then you guys came back together. And now you guys are at $1 million a month in revenue.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And the biggest thing about UMax is the retention wasn't there. People would scan once and then they'd leave. So the problem is you can't build a long-term business if every single person you funnel to the app is leaving the next week. It's just a leaky bucket.
I suspected that was the issue with that app, was the churn rate.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever do anything where you linked like affiliate products?
We did. We would put like Base Body Works. We'd put like the the sprays and but like mastic gum and like all sorts of that stuff. And it was actually like decently successful. But that being said, the affiliates would only work if you actually paid for your scan. UMax, how the user breakdown would work is you come into the app, you take your pictures, and you have to pay for a scan. If you don't pay for a scan, there's basically no way you can use the app. So I think we had like about a 5 to 8% conversion rate on most people. So that 92% of people who are coming to the app, they'd get it, and then they'd effectively just leave and never come back. So even though we're technically paying for those users from like a marketing perspective, we're not doing anything with them. And this is something that it was crazy. The person that told us this was HF0, the accelerator that I was in. They would have like really cool founders come by. So I remember one day the founder of Instacart, Max Mullen, came by the house. Like he just dropped by, and it was I was having dinner with him, me, Max, Blake, and then like the founder of HF0, the accelerator. And he was like, well, guys, I think I know what your problem is. Your problem is this. And he articulated, and it was just cool to meet people that were just founding insane companies.
It seems as though the problem with that app is like so foundational that it would make sense for you to shift focus to this one.
Right.
Because this one seems like that one's big TAM, but high churn. And then this one is like really high TAM, and I'm guessing much lower churn.
Right. Yeah.
So when you came back, the app was doing about 30,000 in revenue. What took it to like the major growth phases where you guys were at 100 for a while, right? And then
100 what?
Like 100K revenue, and then it kind of scaled up to $1 million, or was it very gradual from the 30K?
I would say going from 0 to 100 and 150 took a good year.
No, it would have been 0 till the end of the year was like, I don't know, we finished that first year at like 40 MRR, I think. There's a difference between MRR and like actual revenue you did that month. Just because we collect annual subscriptions. So you're collecting like $120 upfront. So that counts towards revenue, but it's not counting towards your actual monthly recurring revenue. Because if you're paying $120, it's still 10 per month technically.
But anyways, like the short answer, it took us the growth from 100K a month to 1 million a month plus is like pretty condensed. Like it's sort of been a lot quicker. Took us a while to go from 0 to 100.
How long did it take you to go from 100K a month to 1 million a month?
Let's see. What was it? Must have been like, what, 8 months?
8 months?
Probably.
7, 8 months.
Yeah.
And what was the key unlock for you guys?
I think I don't think there was a key unlock. Honestly, what took you from 10 to, I think there's 2 phases that we've experienced thus far as a company. The first is just 0 to 1. How do you consistently get your first stream of customers? And then the next phase, which was honestly, I'd say the next phase was 10 to where we are now.
Yeah.
You just do the same thing that took you, from 10 to 20, you just do it, but you just do more of it when you do more of it.
And I think it's going to stay in that phase. You just have to be more and more disciplined as you keep going.
There's sort of a myth in company growth around exponential growth. Like everyone's throwing around the word exponential hyper growth companies. Like they're growing like this. Their rate is actually increasing at which they grow.
J curve, yeah.
Yeah, there's this curve. It's not true. It's not a thing at all, really. If you look at the best companies, even like social networks, like Facebook, for example, they don't grow like this. They just happen to have a linear growth rate, which is just really, really high. So even like, I feel like there's this, at least when I'm looking at our data internally, I was thinking like, we don't have exponential growth, to be honest. It's amazing growth, and people would consider it like hyper growth, but it's not exponential. So the best companies, if you look at it from like a numbers perspective, are really just doing the same thing, but just more and more and more. And they're just increasing their the rate of linear, which is, it's kind of odd. Exponential is not really a thing.
Yeah, it's like volume, feedback loops.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much the equation for success.
Right.
I guess what were the 3 main unlocks from 100K to 1 million? Like, was it more influencers? Was it Facebook ads? Like, what were the channels that you guys tapped into?
So we've tried absolutely everything. We've tried influencer marketing, paid ads, organic content with creators, clippers. And we've spent hundreds of thousands in basically all of these. The main unlock for us was UGC creators, where you basically take a college kid and you have them start a new social media page, and then every single post on their page is promoting your product. But the reason this works at scale is because to the average viewer, if you see an account called TurboLearn AI 4 that's posting a TurboLearn AI video, you know it's an ad because it's an account by the company. But if you see a video that's like Sarah spam account posting a video promoting TurboLearn, then you think that it's an actual influencer promoting that product. So we basically just take this system where you have college students running company accounts that seem organic, and we scale that out to hundreds of creators.
It's really fascinating because if you theme an entire page around an individual and the company at the same time, let's say they post 100 videos and you have one that goes viral, people are going to be served multiple pieces of content from that one person because the way these algorithms work, it's kind of like TikTok Shop's a good example of this, that if you watch one video about, let's say, this iPad stand, you're going to be served multiple videos from different creators about iPad stands,
Right.
and eventually they're just going to keep giving it to you until you buy it.
Until you buy it.
And this is
100%.
kind of a similar concept, which I really like. So how many creators do you guys have UGC?
We have hundreds and hundreds, over 500.
And those are creators who we manage and are like actually posting every single day.
And we manage them very, very closely.
Interesting. And did they get affiliate or just like flat rate monthly?
No, they just get flat rate.
Flat rate per
Flat
video.
rate per video. Per video,
Right.
sorry.
Plus like incentives.
Incentives. Got it. What's the most amount of money you guys have paid out a college kid?
In like a single month.
Just like total in a single month?
Total
Yeah.
in a single month,
was like, it was a lot. Like
$30,000.
$30,000. Yeah.
Our best creator earned almost $30,000 in a single month.
Yeah, just someone in college.
She's now actually a full-time employee at our company.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's the most amount of money you guys have made from one TikTok video?
Attribution's impossible. We don't. You can't because you have thousands of videos going out. Right. There's no way to tell where the actual money is coming
I
from.
would say over 100,000 though.
For sure.
100,000, and then you have to consider long-term like customer retention as well.
Mhm.
Did you guys run it as like ad as well?
We have run our viral videos as ads. Yeah, we have experimented with that. But I remember one of not our first viral video, but our first video from a creator that was really a needle mover for the company was actually an influencer marketing post. Creator named Tyler Vitale, actually, he had a singular post that got like 12 million views across all socials. That was super high converting. And that was one of the things that um, got us from, I believe it was like 30K a month to like 50K a month, like that in a singular month. And that actually led to us pumping a lot into influencer marketing because we just had this one singular lucky moment with a creator.
And then I guess for people wanting to do a similar thing with UGC, like, do you have any advice for managing a bunch of creators, promoting your product, anything like that?
Yeah, I would say that, and I can go into the specifics later, but I would say it all boils down to being friends with the creator. Just, are you, as the person managing the creator, able to develop a relationship with them so that when competitors and the hundreds of copycats that come after you if you build a successful company offer them twice the rate, they still want to stay at your company? We've had
That's great advice.
creators get offered over like 15K a month on a monthly retainer from other companies who've chosen to stay with Turbo just because they enjoy the relationship they have with our creator managers.
Oh, so you have a bunch of creator managers? Got it. How many of those do you have?
7.
7? It's a great piece of advice because there's a guy, Hudson Leo Grande, we had on the podcast. He is the #1 company on TikTok shop. It's Comfort Clothing. And I met this guy back in 2020. He called me and he was like, I was getting like big brand deal offers at the time, but like he was like the founder of the company and called me and I was like, maybe he'll like, I don't know, maybe it's worth a conversation. Like he had already told me he was just wanted to do commission first. And I was like, maybe it's still worth a conversation. And just like, he was so nice on the call and he was like so good to me that I was like, shit, I'm tempted to do like my first commission brand deal. And then 5 years later, like he's like, oh yeah, I did that with 1,000 people and now they're all my affiliates and we're all good friends and you take care of them, you know? And like ask them how their day's doing, all that stuff. So that part is super underrated in this business. But what's the key to making something viral while you're selling something?
Yeah.
Hardest question.
This is the hardest question of all time. And here's the thing that inexperienced companies miss. We had this era where over a span of 2 months, we racked up 600 or 700 million views on social media. And our user growth from the previous month where we did not add that many users was basically the same. And the main insight we had was a video that actually convinces people to use the product versus a video that is just viral for going viral. The extent to which the video that does a good job of promoting the product converts is way more than I initially thought. So there are certain videos that are incredibly high converting and most videos are not. You have to optimize for the ones that are high converting. So what I see right now in this space, especially with companies that are new and inexperienced to viral marketing, is that they're giving creators a lot of creative freedom and they're basically making videos that talk about random stuff and just happen to plug the product. The reason that your video goes viral has to be because of the product, not despite the product. Like your product has to be the solution to a problem that the video builds up.
You can sort of think of it like a spectrum where the more viral the video is, the more like usually kind of silly in nature it is. And those types of videos, while they go super viral, as you get more on this side of the spectrum, you also lose conversion, which kind of sucks. So you might get a 10 million view video that doesn't really get very many users. And on the other side, you can make a super boring video that's really high converting, but then no one's going to see it. So finding that balance is honestly the biggest ongoing question, I think, in all of marketing.
So would you guys guess, just as an example, that let's say Ashton Hall, like morning routine guy, he did a video of his daily routine or like his morning routine, and he just took a photo on an app with Cal AI, and that was just a part of the video, do you think, and that gets 1 million views versus a video of, like, what would be the video that would convert way better than that?
I actually think that example is fine because, and that's actually decently high converting, because the reason you're watching, you know, Ashton Hall is you know what he's going to do. I mean, a lot of his videos are whatever, the morning routine. So the fact that they use Cal AI is honestly good. It makes sense. Let me give an example from UMax, just because it was pretty interesting. K. Shami. His signature video that he would always make prior to UMax was Mogwarts. For those of you that don't know what Mogwarts is, he was effectively teaching you how to look smacks in the style of like Harry Potter. And the way he would do it is he would start with some guy who's like chopped and then show what exactly we can do to make him look smacks.
Right.
And the way that we actually plugged UMax was incredibly simple. He did the exact same format that was already going viral and getting millions of views, but we just plugged a screenshot of the app that this guy used to go viral. So it's an example of something that was already going viral. We plugged the product in a way that, you know, it didn't even feel like an ad, so it was incredibly successful. But the key there is that the product was directly a solution to
The problem.
the problem in the video. And it was also like, it didn't feel like an ad. It was like, oh, wow, this is the solution to this guy's looks maxing problems. I need to use this app to become hotter. So it worked really well. Whereas
It's also like secret effect. It's like, oh, like, say theoretically he didn't say, go check out UMax, and it was just the screenshot.
Yeah.
People are going to be like, oh, well,
What's
this is
the
what
app?
K-Shami uses for that.
Exactly.
And then the top comment,
Exactly.
you got to say, what is the app?
What's the app? And,
And
then
it's-
you like rage bait a little bit in the comments.
What's an example of a bad one?
So one of the features on Turbo is you can convert recordings into notes, right? So if you post a video in which you record your mom yelling at your dad for cheating on her, and then you just happen to turn that into notes just so you can look at the notes, that's a terrible video. Because no one's actually, number one, using Turbo to record their mom yelling at their dad. But more importantly, the reason that video goes viral is because of the cool story of your mom cheating on your dad. Well, not cool, unfortunate. Cool for like the viewer, I guess. But the reason the video goes viral is because of the fact that like the part leading up to your product is cool. Your product just happens to be a part of the video.
There's a couple scripts that I've seen that we've tried that I think are absolutely hilarious because they're like honestly prime examples of like what not to do. I saw this one. It was like some guy, he starts off, it's like a personal talking head video where they're talking about how they love playing basketball or something. They talk for 30 seconds just about basketball. And then at some point in the video, he just mentions that, oh, by the way, I'm also a college student. And then you plug Turbo.
Right.
If I'm the user and I watch 30 seconds about basketball and then randomly a study ad comes up, I feel I'm going to be mad, honestly, because like, how does this even relate at all? And that's an example of something that's not effective because if anything, you're like almost like tricking the user into watching the video for this unrelated premise and then like just dropping the ad and then you're like, yo, what the hell? I didn't
Totally
know.
makes sense. Like
Yeah.
if I'm using Turbo, like if I have someone film a video, it's like bro's using Turbo to interview people right now. And it's like me and Kim Kardashian.
Yeah.
And like I'm like read a question off it. Like sure that might be viral. It's like, oh, bro's using AI to do a podcast, but it's like how many people do podcast? Like is this
It
viral
doesn't
because
matter.
it's Kim Kardashian? You know, is it viral because it's AI in general, not the use case of Turbo? That makes a lot of sense to me. How do you know if a creator is worth paying to promote an app?
I would say that if you look at the creator market and how it used to be, what initially companies started off doing is they would take influencers who are already established and then ask them to run a company account. So imagine I came up to you and I said, Jack, you're great at talking. Will you want to run a Turbo account? You would come to me and say, I want $1,000 a video. You might say a little bit more. I don't know. And as a company, this is just like not a sustainable business model. The insight we came to is that we can take someone who is charismatic, and I don't care if they have any other trait or skill, and we can train them. So for us, the only benchmark whether they're worth paying or not is if they're charismatic and whether they have like the intention of working hard and being receptive to feedback. So charismatic and coachable.
So you guys put a lot of effort into making creators perform well.
Exactly.
Who didn't really know much about creation. Maybe they were just charismatic. So I think a great use case here, and we spoke about this before the interview, was what was your secret for making an ad look organic?
For making an ad look organic. So one of the insights we had early onwards was that if you look at some of the most viral influencers who tell storytime content, they're always doing something in the video. Um, a lot of influencers are shaving while they're talking, or they're making a smoothie, or they're cooking. So what our CMO, Nick, who's also an influencer himself with experience making talking content, what he realized was, can we take a creator and make her cut fruit in all of our videos? So instead of just the creator sitting there and saying, use turbo, she would almost do an entire story time in which she'd get like a watermelon and she'd start cutting the watermelon, and it would almost feel like a get ready with me story time, but she's cutting fruit and in the kitchen. And then the views and virality picked up a lot because people would see these creators on their For You page and be like, oh my God, they just feel like an influencer. They're doing the thing that all the influencers do. And at one point, we were literally taking our creators and we would Venmo them like $20 a week to buy fruit, or to like buy different props to put in their videos. And that helped a lot. So we had like a 2 or 3 month time span where all the turbo creators were cutting fruit, and it was like the thing that defined our brand.
How many creators were cutting fruit?
Basically all of them.
At this point, we were a little bit smaller, so 100, 150. And now we're at the point where if you were to look at companies doing the strategy where they hire creators, have them run accounts, I would say that 1 out of 3, or roughly half of them, do this now.
What are you guys doing now?
We're experimenting with different types of props, but the fundamental concept of make them feel like a real influencer who's doing a storytime video remains the same. So we're actually on the other end of the spectrum now, where people see fruit and sometimes they comment, damn, not another turbo ad, or I can't wait for the turbo
instantly
plug.
know.
So now a fruit's low-key a bad thing because it's a sign that it's an ad, just because we've made so much content, gotten like hundreds of millions of views in which people cut fruit. So now we're like having people pour Kool-Aid into a cup of water and stirring the Kool-Aid. We're experimenting a little bit, but again, the fundamental principle of do something in the video to be engaging still applies. Because other than the fact that it feels influencery, if you think about short form content and what it feels like from the viewer's perspective, they are scrolling very fast on the For You page. And for most videos, they're spending less than 1 second. So if there's any element in your video that captures the viewer's attention, that's going to make them want to stay for longer. So if you've ever seen a video, right, in which there's an influencer and the first 1 second of the video is them placing the camera here, it's like that influencer camera set down. The reason they do that is on purpose, to have that little visual motion so that it makes you think while you're scrolling, whoa, what did I just see? So part of it is make them feel like an actual influencer so there's more credibility. The second part is how do you just make the video more engaging?
What's funny about the food and like the activity of doing something is it's like this dual effect of, to the viewer, it feels like something that's not an ad. And then also it puts the influencer themselves in a state where they don't feel like they're doing an ad. Like something when I've worked with creators in the past, I was like, yo, just eat something while you do your video. And it goes from like presenting to like, yo, I'm just eating something, talking.
Exactly.
So that's something for companies to think about for sure. What would you say is the key to a viral hook?
We step a little bit backwards into, I think there's 2 types of ways you can come up with viral ideas. The first that we do quite a bit is just, something's trending. Let's try to take something that's trending and write our own script on how that connects to the product in some way. I think the more like really, really surefire way to know if something, a topic or an idea is going to go viral is if you've seen it go viral before. So I think a big secret to writing viral things is kind of ironically just scrolling on TikTok to see other talking head, people just talking to the camera, those videos. And if something has gone viral, there's those first 5 seconds for another person, the odds that it will go viral again if you do the exact same thing are incredibly high. So you can almost reverse engineer virality a little bit.
There's actually this one format where there is a manifestation trend on TikTok where people would take candles, they'd put a candle in front of them, and they'd basically say something like Diva, you're gonna have a great 2026. This is gonna be your year. This is gonna be the year that you're gonna lock in. And this is like a niche inside of TikTok that has had videos get tens, maybe hundreds of millions of views, and it repeatedly goes viral. So something that we did is we looked at one of these videos and we thought, how can we turn that into a at least medium converting turbo ad? So we flipped it from the person manifesting you having a good 2020, this is back in 2025, to saying like, Diva, I'm going to manifest really, really good grades for you this semester. You're going to crush it. The advice I have for you is to use Turbo AI, Diva. It's going to turn your notes into flashcards and quizzes and podcast, Diva. You got to use Turbo AI. And we basically had this era where creators would go into their room and turn their LED lights like super purple and be very like almost like psychic vibe, and they would like manifest them good grades with Turbo being the solution. So the way we got the idea again was by just looking and seeing that this is going viral in another niche. How can we take it? And I think that
That's
honestly,
genius, by the way. I haven't seen another company do that. So yeah.
I think that this is honestly where most companies go wrong. We're at the point where I see a new turbo dupe like every other day, but a lot of these turbo dupes don't innovate at all on content. And when they do like try to take ideas, they take ideas from the edtech space, right? And I feel like most people, when they're starting a new app or building a new product, they ask themselves, what's going viral in my niche? How can I iterate upon that? So even forgetting stealing ideas from other companies, like most people, if they were to start an education company, they would look at what content education TikTokers are making and think about how to plug their product. The thing that I've been doing a lot more of this recently, and it took me a while to realize this insight, is that the ideas that usually go more viral come from a different space other than your own. For example, the candle idea came from the manifestation niche, which if I had restrained myself to edtech, just wouldn't be a thing. So I have like 5 For You pages now on my phone, and each one is just from a different perspective. Like depressed white girl crying over her ex For You page is one of mine. And then I have like 5 different For You pages, each of them radically different niche, and that's been a pretty good source of ideas.
Yeah, it was something I realized after my chat with Hormozy that it really does just come down to what are the variables and how can we manipulate them. So like in the case of getting ideas, it's like, okay, we can get ideas from TikTok For You page. That is my For You page. Okay, great. We can get ideas from someone else's For You page. 5 For You pages. We can get ideas from Instagram. We can do the same thing on Instagram. We can do it on YouTube, Reddit. It's like, you got to think about all the platforms, all the places that content are being posted. And I mean, you guys are the people being interviewed, but my prescription would just be make sure you have people on your team that like are diverse, whether in age, the kind of content they're consuming, like as far as marketing goes. Like I used to have a 50-year-old researcher, and she worked at like, where does she work? She used to work at like the traditional news stations for like true crime, and like she would always give me ideas and like true crime cases that I'd never even heard of because I was looking at like TikTok, YouTube, Reddit, and she was looking at like fucking documentary shows that people used to watch like in the 90s, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of places to find inspiration. You just have to think about all the variables. How many creators do you guys have hired on your team? Like your C-suite, like your marketing team?
Yeah, our marketing team right now is 7 full-time people, and every single person on there is an influencer with a couple 100,000 followers. The 2 people who are not big influencers are creators who started in our creator program, grew their Turbo AI account to over 40,000 followers, and then we hire them full time. But everyone else comes from a content background.
Do you think it's a mistake to hire CMOs that don't have followers?
No,
I think it would be a hard and fast rule.
I would not call it a hard and fast rule. And the reason I say this is because I would say part of it's luck and part of it is we've churned through a lot of like part-time contractors. And I've interviewed and worked with a lot of creators, and that the team that we have right now is really, really amazing, but it's been after a lot of working with a lot of people, seeing who's the best fit and nailing down the core team. So I would say that my advice for, if you're a company thinking about hiring influencers is to make sure that they're able to prioritize the work that you want them to do. Because if you're an influencer who can make $5,000 from a brand deal, right? You can basically post once a day and earn 20, 30K a month. What motivates you to actually want to put in 80 hours a week at a startup? So I would say you need to make sure that, the creators and influencers that you hire, that they want to be bought in on the company.
I think it's the same as like any other profession. Like take basketball, for example, right? You're really, really great at playing basketball. You're LeBron James. Does that mean that, LeBron James is going to be a fantastic head coach? Maybe, maybe not. There's lots of great coaches who aren't great at actually playing the game. So I don't think they're mutually exclusive. For example, like when I think about hiring like a lot of engineers, it's nice to be able to know how to manage someone if you can do their job really, really well, but not a hard and fast rule.
But you would say that most companies, like top Fortune 500 companies in the US, should likely look into influencers to help with their marketing department.
I'd say so, yes.
I would say yes. I think the person...
It's because they're just missing that perspective right now.
Right.
If you hire if you're hiring, people with MBAs in marketing from like MIT or something like that.
Viral,
it's just they're...
And it's not that it's not going to work. It might work, but I would say they don't necessarily have to be influencers, but they need to have viral sense. And the way to test if they have viral sense is to see if they've either gone viral themselves or they were the head of content at another program. Like I myself am not an influencer, and I don't know. I would just creative thought of ideas, but either there's like evidence that they themselves have gone viral, or there's a strong case for otherwise.
My editors that I hire, I usually make sure that they've got viral videos before. You know what I mean? And if they haven't, I would expect them to be a cheaper price because I could teach them how to do it,
Exactly.
But the person managing the editing team, or like the really good editors, those people might come from Netflix, but they might not understand social media super well. So you kind of have to... It's like trade-offs.
It's trade-offs. I think that like every skill is trainable, and you can train people who don't have a background in, going viral on how to be viral, and they may just be a quick learner. But I think if you're hiring and you're a big company, like the person managing and writing the training curriculum needs to be someone who's done it before.
You guys make $1 million a month.
Yeah.
You're 21. How much is your company worth at 21 years old?
I would say over $200 million. This us, not.
And then modestly, like what would you say is like
so
bare minimum if you had to sell it tomorrow?
Valuation is hard, but like even in very, very bad case outcomes and valuation methods, we are worth over $100 million.
Quick question. Are you someone that has a lot of money in crypto? Because if you're like me, you're worried about getting hacked, or if you have a hard wallet, losing it, someone stealing it, or just forgetting your password. That's why I was so relieved when I met the guys at I Trust Capital. They told me they have a premium custody account, which basically means money can only move in and out from your bank account. No external wallets, no random transfers, so you can never get hacked or drained. So if you want to keep your crypto safe, just go to jackneel.com/itrust or scan the QR code on screen. Again, that's jackneel.com/itrust if you want to sleep better at night knowing your money's stored with the same companies that BlackRock, Fidelity, and Coinbase Prime are all using. But anyway, guys, back to the podcast. Yeah, I think you guys might be the most successful, youngest people I've met. There's one other person that I think you guys know that they're not willing to come on podcasts because they're doing so well. But you guys are definitely number 2, if not number 1. I don't know their exact numbers. There's some like faceless kids in Cyprus making some money in some interesting ways with AI apps. But
there's a big difference between, venture like VC valuations and how, I don't know, a private equity firm or something. Because this whole thing is very like subjective, valuations.
Would you guys sell your company?
No. I think it can be a lot bigger than it is right now. So it would be a shame to sell.
What's your goal next 5 years?
In terms of finances, in terms of product?
Finance, I guess. Yeah.
Finance. Next 5 years. Next 5 years, we better be worth more than $1 billion.
Right.
Earlier than that.
Earlier.
5's too long.
Yeah.
When do you expect you guys will be able to call yourself billionaires?
Oh, billionaires. So that means we would have to be worth more than what, $2.5 billion as a company.
That might
take
be 5 years. I think is a fair goal for that.
5 years would be awesome.
Yeah, for both of us to be billionaires. Right. 5 years. Yeah.
So you guys would be 26 at that time. Okay. For both of you to be billionaires, I guess one of you could acquire all the equity to beat Zuckerberg and scale it really fast. When I think he became a billionaire at 22.
Yeah, super young.
It was very young.
So how does it feel to be worth tens of millions of dollars at 21 years old?
You'd think that it would feel different than we weren't, but it does. I don't think there's much. It feels the exact
because we haven't bought anything yet.
Yeah.
So like, I feel like my life is the exact same as it was, 2 years ago.
If anything, there's more work to do.
Yeah. It was more fun before.
My producer camera guy was asking me before this podcast. He's like, "Yeah, Jack, like podcast is growing a lot. He's like, do you feel better about it now?" I'm like, "Oh my God, no, there's so much more shit
there's so much more to do." Yeah, I don't know.
I'm like, I mean, the problem of making money and getting views is like kind of solved, but like
more money, more problems.
It's true. Have you guys bought anything?
Not really.
You guys buy each other Christmas gifts?
Okay, there's one weekend.
I bought him socks. Or one day.
There's one weekend we were like, let's see what it feels like to get a taste. So we went on a trip to New York, and we spent like $800 on a dinner, and
just
we were like,
we're
never doing this again.
It was not good.
But yeah, I think that was about it.
Honestly, this sounds like super cliche to say, but the most fun and like happy I feel. I mean, I remember this. It was like a couple weeks ago. Like all the people in our company, we're friends with everyone. Everyone's like also 21, 22. We went out and we played we decided this random game where we were gonna play 4v4 game where you play basketball first and then volleyball and then football, and then the losing team has to do like a ton of dares and play like shot roulette or something. And it was probably the most fun I've had in a while, and we spend a grand total of like $0. Kind of cliche, but it was awesome.
To go off cliches even more, like, do you guys drink, smoke, party, anything like that?
We drink sometimes, but that's about it.
Recently for me, recently it's been super locked in, but yeah.
That's a typical archetype of successful young guys. Like, I don't do anything. I just like work at my computer all day. But you guys seem fairly sociable. I mean, that's a benefit of having co-founders in general.
And like everyone we're friends with everyone in our company, and sort of the dynamic we have is we all live and work out of a giant company house. So it's like a giant friend group or like a frat together, but you just happen to be, well, I wouldn't call it a frat, but like a giant friend group working together, working on a project.
Really smart friend group who is just happened to be aligned on like the same goals. So it's awesome.
So I think it might be a good time in the interview to, guys, I've been recording the entire conversation thus far, and I'm going to try to use Turbo to upload the audio.
Oh, man.
It says do not close or leave the app. What happens if I do that?
You'll lose everything.
No, you'll be fine. It'll be saved, but
Well, let's check what Turbo has come up with.
Let's do it.
Damn, this actually looks... I feel like I'm grifting for your app right now, but it looks really like well organized.
Awesome.
Surprising.
I can do flashcards from this
Yeah,
interview.
you can do flashcards.
I don't want to generate them. Okay, so how do I...
You can do quiz questions.
So I do
That'll be
chat.
quicker.
Okay.
You can do quiz questions, see if you can get them right. See if you've been paying attention.
Oh, I'm being tested now. Let's test you guys first on the app. Okay. What's the most viral next question I could ask the two co-founders that I haven't discussed yet in the interview? Or what is the most viral next question to ask about a point that they didn't expand upon fully?
See what happens.
Yeah, you mentioned the importance of a single aha moment for virality, like turning lectures into notes and quizzes and like the text on screen while you're recording the audio. Can you share an example of a product that you initially thought had an aha moment but failed to go viral?
Yeah, I can give a couple. So we had a feature on Turbo where it would edit your existing document, sort of like Google Docs with AI, where you ask it like, hey, can you add analogies into my notes? And it would go through and do it. And that was sort of the aha moment. Oh my God, you can do that. And I think part of the reason it didn't go viral is even though it was like pretty cool, no one else can do that. Being able to convey why adding analogies into your document through a short form video and also is just pretty difficult. And even though it was an aha moment, it wasn't like compelling enough to be a great aha moment. Because
even when you explained it to me just now, I was like, was that an aha moment? I was like, wait, so I could get analogies, but you thought that would be interesting, the visual of what happening exactly?
An AI like going on your document like with its live cursor and making changes to your notes. So the better example would be like if you need to write an essay or you're brainstorming, instead of copying and pasting from GPT, it sort of does it on your document. But even as I'm describing it right now, it's not that compelling, which was the problem.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I guess that would be kind of hard to convey. And what'd you learn from that?
The things that we need to be showing need to be super duper clear. Because if you want to show it in short form, the nature of short form is that you have to grab their attention quickly. So if it's a problem that requires a lot of setup and a lot of context, you're just going to lose the user before it's even important.
Or you
like,
have to find a way to condense it. So
yeah,
I would say that building features around this whole principle of building for virality, even in like more established products, is actually something I would highly recommend. So for example, one thing we did is we had a podcast feature in which you can basically turn your notes into a podcast, and we built out a tool for creators where instead of it being a normal podcast, the podcast would cough. So the first 10 seconds, the podcast would say something normal, and it would just like cough or sneeze. And then we launched that as a feature just for our creators, and we got like over 200 million views in the span of a month just from that singular feature.
People are like, why is the AI coughing?
Yeah, they were like, oh my God.
So people would make edits of our ads because
like
we not only manipulated the cough, we manipulated the actual voice. So the AI would cough, you'd ask the AI a question, and the AI would be like mad at you. Like, why do you keep interrupting me? And the feature that we're trying to show off here is that you can turn your notes into a podcast, and you can actually like chat with it in real time and interrupt it, sort of like a live tutor. But yeah, we just turned it into a viral simulation.
People thought it was so awesome that I think like news agencies were like, this is crazy. Oh my God, like AI is like sentience, it's coughing and stuff. So it was pretty successful.
Yeah, I see like a new clip every day with like I actually have a list of like 20 edits that people have made of it that have gotten over 500,000 likes on each edit.
And did those convert well, or was it too like lack of congruency?
You know, I don't...
Doesn't seem great.
Yeah, it doesn't seem great.
But it's good awareness.
It's good awareness, and it wasn't horrible on a spectrum of like 0 to 1, but it was on the worst side.
Yeah.
And you know, going back earlier to our point about your product, your video should go viral because of your product. I think that this did a great job of integrating our product. Like the whole video was a user talking to Turbo. But the reason it went viral was because, oh, look, AI is growing sentient.
Yeah.
Not that, oh,
And
look, the AI that turns your notes into podcasts is growing sentient. Go use Turbo AI.
a lot of the comments, even, you could sort of tell that it was reaching people who had nothing to do with studying or students. They just thought it was crazy that an AI was coughing. So I think a lot of the views were just not super effective because they weren't hitting our demo.
That's fascinating. Do you think there's any, like, I mean, I'm sure there's like marginal utility to it, but like, do you guys ever think about like, what's our big viral moment that's not super congruent? Or is it just like, let's just get congruent content that actually converts?
Yeah. The core problem is it's really, really hard to justify marketing spend that is not directly producing new users just because you can't quantify the ROI at all. It could be amazing. It could activate someone that, it could help in some spontaneous new way, but you don't know what it's going to be, which is why things like, I don't know, billboards have always like baffled me personally, because you're like, well, how do you even calculate the ROI on a billboard? It's just like, you just do it, and it's sort of just pray that it's going to do something. But that being said, I was reading something about Coke, for example, and the bulk of their revenue is actually just brought in purely by a couple of one subset of Coke drinkers that really buy it a lot, and that's actually the bulk of their revenue. But if you look at like the nature of their advertising, they just do everything. They just like throw Coke in random places, and it's pretty interesting. There's something to think about there. I don't know. It's not.
It's like retention metrics for long-standing companies. It's like, oh, you see like a Coke billboard. It's like, oh yeah, I like Coke, but it's like you've already had it. But if you saw one for a company you've never heard of, it's like, okay, that's something. There's always something there, but I think it's in the age of social media, it's not nearly as effective. It's not a super effective use of money.
Well, I wouldn't even say that it's not effective. The problem is you can't confidently determine how effective it is because attribution is just completely cooked. So I do think that there's bets outside of short form content that might actually be amazing, but the fundamental problem is how confident are you in that thesis, and how do you attribute how much user growth it led to, which is why it's the problem. With social media, you can at least attribute, here's how many dollars I put in, here's how many views I got, and work backwards from there to have some semblance of whether it was profitable.
It's fascinating. Tracking in general is just super. I don't think companies are very good at it.
It's kind of an impossible task. Like early on, I used to think that like we were just personally as a company doing a bad job of tracking and attributing users. But then as we've really, really tried to solve that problem, I realized that it's just not really a solvable problem. I mean, imagine you show someone a TikTok video and there's a link to Turbo, right? The likelihood they actually click on that link and go right then and there is very low. Most likely, maybe they're in class the next day, or maybe a friend tells them about it as well, and then they just end up searching it up. It's quite impossible to actually link the user signing up to where they actually came from. It's pretty much impossible. I was talking to someone who was running a fund that was responsible for funding a lot of Grammarly's current spend. They had raised like over $1 billion in debt, and he was telling me that a lot of it is actually just vibes based. Even for companies spending over $50 million on advertising, it's surprisingly not data driven, which is kind of crazy. But I guess it should give us all a little bit of reassurance that, everyone sort of doesn't know what they're doing.
That's super true. Yeah, I think the prime example of this is all the kids making money on TikTok Shop. And they're like, wow, this is such a gold rush. And then like you realize like 50% of people who watch the video just go on Amazon and buy the product.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just kind of like an arbitrage in of itself. But
and one thing I would add on to that is regarding attribution, the biggest advice I'd honestly have for someone if they're starting a new company is at the very early stages when you don't have a lot of users, you can figure out attribution. All I mean by that is if you're getting 50 users a day and you have a viral TikTok with 5 million views, and the next day you wake up to 10,000 users, 20,000 users, you're like, okay, wow, this is a good, 5 million users equals to this, 5 million views equals to this amount of users. It's a good form of content. But I would recommend that, if you are starting a new app or a new website, early on, experiment a lot and to the best of your abilities, try to track this type of video format leads to this type of user growth versus this type of video format leads to this type of user growth. Because you just can't do it at scale. Or you can't do it when you're adding so many users.
The longer you've been a company, the more annoying it becomes, because then you have so much content that's like actively right now, we probably have tens of thousands of videos that could be getting views. Can you pinpoint which out of 20,000 videos where a user came from? No, it's a pointless effort. There's no point in doing it.
What's the number one use case of your app when you guys are looking at I forget what these metrics are called. It's like the usage data on the App Store.
Activation, stuff like that. Number one right now is that a big learning was that, let's say you're a college student and you have a 100-page PDF. We would have thought originally that if you take it, you put it into Turbo, and Turbo spits out 3 pages of notes, let's say, that they would read those notes. But it turns out that even when it goes from 100 pages to 3 pages, students still don't want to read it because it's still too long and their attention spans are very, very, very cooked. So the bulk of our usage right now is actually in the interactive study tools. So quiz questions and podcast and flashcards, mainly quiz questions, because people really, really like assessing themselves on knowledge and like instantly getting feedback on why they're good, why it's bad. So we've been leaning into that a little bit.
I want to try one of the quiz questions.
Let's try a quiz. Let's see if you've been paying attention.
Yeah. Well, let me go out here.
If you get it wrong, we're gonna be mad at you.
Okay. So question for the audience. Oh shit, this might take a second. Which 2-step framework should a founder use to validate both virality and monetization of a new AI study app before building the MVP? 1. Create a short viral demo video, then test monetization with a paywall and brief free trial. 2. Launch the full app, then measure user growth and adjust pricing later. 3. Run a paid ad campaign first, then collect user feedback after purchase. Or 4. Build a detailed technical prototype, then seek seed funding before any user testing. Do you know the answer to it?
I know the answer. Do you know
I know
the answer?
the answer to you.
Yeah, seek seed funding. No, create a short viral demo video, then test monetization with a paywall and brief free trial.
Right.
There we go.
Awesome.
Damn, that's actually...
I'm glad it worked.
You guys might have to partner with this podcast so people can quiz themselves to make sure they're actually learning and not just being entertained by
Exactly.
2 kids who are worth hundreds of millions of dollars. But this leads into what you were talking about before is you went to Duke, you went to Northwestern. These are practically Ivy League schools. Some people call them sub-Ivy. They're very hard to get into. I did not get into Northwestern. I don't think I applied to Duke. But do you guys think college is a scam?
It's a hard question. How do you define scam?
I didn't get an ROI on my money.
You didn't get an ROI on your money. Okay.
Well, if you define it like that, it's...
I would,
if you define it like that, it's a scam for a lot of people.
Yeah, but I would say as someone who's considering, do I go to college or not? I'd say the main thing is you have to ask yourself, what is your goal? Do you want to pursue knowledge, find something you're curious in, and go deep into that, plus the social aspect? Or are you treating it as a financial investment in which the world tells you that if you get a college degree, you're going to be more employable and be able to land a slightly higher paying job? If your reason for going to college is option A, make lots of friends, have lots of fun, and pick a subject that you're interested in and dive deep into it without really worrying about the financial ROI, I would say that college is worth it if you think that you can afford it. If it's the second option of do I go to make myself more employable, I would say it's worth it only if you're going to, you're going on scholarship or to a state school that isn't super expensive. But I don't think that the cost and time commitment you're putting in, both monetarily and like how you're spending your time, is worth the return when you could go to trade school and make the same salary.
I actually disagree. I think that college, so given this new AI world where it's really, really easy to basically learn anything. Okay, you could have all sorts of skills, and you could probably use ChatGPT to teach yourself virtually anything. The current LLMs are breaking like basically PhD level achievements in every single discipline. At first glance, I thought originally that this is an argument against college. Because if it's easy to learn anything, why would you pay for someone teaching to you? It doesn't really make a lot of sense. But then I thought about it more, and because AI makes it so easy to learn stuff, if you're thinking about it from the employer's perspective, wow, this is pessimistic. There is the amount of noise that exists in the application pool for applying for jobs becomes insanely hard. How do they differentiate between people if everyone has the ability to have skills?
They use AI.
Well, option A
Another problem in of
option A
itself.
is they use AI, right? And if AI is also causing a problem of less jobs, which is true, that is something that we have to accept, they need to be able to use certain filters to not talk to 1,000 people, because they can't talk to 1,000 people. It's just not possible. And the first filter that any company will use is which college you attended.
Right.
So in that regard, like something that we're doing right now, and I'm not saying that I'm not willing to talk to someone who came from a worse college, but if I only have the time to talk to 10 people and I have 10,000 options, quite frankly, I'm gonna filter by people who went to Ivy Leagues, just because it's easier, and they tend to have higher, like not higher, but like majority of the conversations I have tend to be good. So I'm like, why not? And it works.
Would you guys be more apt to hire someone who dropped out of an Ivy League, or
Yeah,
that
so
I would
graduated?
love to hire someone who dropped out of Ivy. That's the best person.
The actual the fact that they graduated from Harvard, I don't care about that at all, right? Harvard has great inflation. Like so many people get A's. As people who went to Northwestern and Duke, like it just was not very hard, especially with AI. The thing that matters though is that they were able to get into this school, and that serves as a filtering mechanism, which I can get behind.
And I just look at like, I'm thinking about like my own college application journey, and it wasn't hard. It wasn't easy to get into to get into these schools. And I'm thinking like, the types of people that are getting these schools, the likelihood that they're intelligent is decently high. So if you're going to be hiring less people just because AI warrants hiring less people just because there's less work to be done, then the initial filters become even more important. And that is why I think maybe college is arguably less of a scam, but with an AI
where
world.
I think you draw the distinction though is a lot of colleges market themselves as you're going to come to the school, you're going to network, you're going to learn all of these things at this college which you will apply in your job. I don't think a lot of like what you actually learn in college is applicable in a real job, and I think like the networking that you do in a college is largely not that useful.
That's how you guys met. His networking in college.
That's how I met Blake as well.
Well, I mean, we met because we grew up together.
But it's more about the person that you are and what you're willing to do with the opportunity. And it's a scam in that maybe the going to the classes itself won't get you a job guaranteed, but you can finesse it in a way where you get value. I think that's fair.
It's up to the person.
At our company right now, we have 2 full-time employees who are Northwestern dropouts, and we have
three Duke
that
people.
are Duke
so
people.
I met a lot of people that are, we're going to work with in some professional capacity.
So there's value for us.
How do you use AI to get into an Ivy League school?
How do you use AI to get into an Ivy League school?
I think
that's an interesting question.
Right now, actually, the college admissions process is probably so different from what it was like for us growing up, because colleges placed a big emphasis, especially like top 20 colleges, on the extracurriculars you do outside of school. So if you're a kid, I'm talking pre-GPT, who wrote a 20-page research paper and got it published, or if you're a kid who built an app, then you look incredibly impressive, because doing those things was very, very difficult and it took a long time. Same with like writing a book, right? If you pre-AI write a 300-page book about a scientific topic, wow, incredibly impressive. I think that now, because of the fact that you can, vibe code an app with AI, you can GPT one-shot a 20-page research paper and use deep research. I think right now, the filter for colleges as to who to let in becomes sort of cooked. And going
it's the
back
same
to
problem with jobs, honestly. The signal to noise is just, you just can't differentiate. There's no way unless you really like. an anecdote that I have personally developed with hiring is that there's so many people that sound absolutely fantastic on paper, but the only way to really tell if someone's going to be great is you actually have to work with them for like at least a month, which colleges, companies, they just can't do that for 40,000 different people. So I'm a bit pessimistic. I don't know how you do it.
I think, like, to answer your question, how do you use AI to get into college? You have to use AI to get traction on something. Because I think the only filtering mechanism right now is
But colleges don't really care about that.
You guys are probably under the assumption, too, that you likely had perfect SAT scores and perfect GPAs. Is that fairly true?
Yeah.
I was one of those kids who had those metrics as well, but what I didn't have was like the differentiator. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna start this charity and I'm gonna go viral on TikTok, and I thought that'd be enough, but it wasn't. And I guess for the people who want, like, how do you use AI to get a 4.0 GPA and get perfect ACT, SAT scores? Like, how would you do it if you guys went back?
Use TurboLearn.
Yeah, in all seriousness, I think the fundamental thing about being like good at a lot of like academic subjects is it does start with curiosity, being willing to ask questions a lot. And the great thing about AI is AI has all your answers. So the starting place is just becoming really, really curious about everything, academic subjects included. And if you do that, I think the knowledge will sort of come. The great thing about AI is that let's say a couple of years ago, a lot of knowledge was restricted. As in, if you wanted to learn math, you might have to actually go in person and ask your teacher, and they might not be available because they're helping another student, and then your access to that information is not there. But that's no longer the case.
Yeah, it really is like there's no reason to not get a perfect test score anymore.
No.
Like, my excuse at the time was like, I only have 10 practice booklets, but now I can have 1,000.
Right.
So like,
you
can practically generate any question that they could possibly think of on the ACT, SAT, and like any category of question. That's interesting. Are those metrics still important for getting into school?
I think they largely are. Just in the same way that, you know, college is important to job applications just because its initial filter. I think colleges use SAT and ACT as like a filter of intelligence, sort of.
I would argue that they're becoming more important. There's a trend during COVID and a little bit after COVID where all these schools became test optional. And latest I've heard, a lot of schools are making it a requirement again to submit your test scores. And I would argue that like an SAT score or an ACT score is a really, really good indicator of
I feel the
how you're going to perform in college. And the reason's simple. Like, okay, if you're rich, you can like pay for your parents to fund your nonprofit. Or if you're rich, you can go join the sailing team or fencing team and develop sort of a wedge. But at the end of the day, especially because of AI, rich people no longer have an advantage when it comes to just test prep. It's like the least biased filter there is, I would say.
Yeah.
There's a bit of an advantage in different ways, but as far as like access to resources,
well,
like,
I'd say access to tutors, but
socioeconomically,
not even tutors, just
like not having to work a second job.
Yeah, of course. Like, but at the end of the day, it's all skewed in favor of people who are, you
rich,
know, are richer.
Always.
There are certain factors of the college admissions process, like extracurriculars, that are skewed more in their favor than SAT, ACT, which is probably like the least skewed in rich people's favor. Is all I'm saying.
How'd you two meet?
Middle school. We were just friends. We were in the same friend group.
Did you guys like do any activities together? Like,
yeah, we would let's see, just like random stuff. Play basketball.
Play basketball.
In our friend group, we would always have this thing, like every single time someone had a birthday, we would there was like a sleepover, just like normal like middle school kid stuff.
Did you guys want to go to the same college?
We did, and then we didn't get into a single school that was the same.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, none of us got into a single Ivy.
No, we just, yeah.
Huh.
I thought I had very amazing.
Are you guys from a good school in Texas?
Yeah.
Good public school, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I feel like they base it off of like people from this geolocation, so it's actually super hyper competitive if you're from Texas, like a good school. Like I was from a school where I think one girl got into an Ivy ever, and like if you had these stats there, it'd be much easier because they're looking at.
Comparatively, yeah. No, I remember on Ivy Day, we both like all the results came out, and then I called Rudy instantly, like the minute after, and then I was like, I got rejected everywhere, and he was like, me too, I got rejected everywhere.
You didn't get rejected.
I got deferred from every single Ivy.
Waitlisted.
Every
single Ivy.
Sorry, yeah, not deferred.
Yeah, I don't know how that happens to you.
Waitlisted from every single place.
It's crazy. like Zach Yaudagari, he's
Oh yeah.
Fairly-
We're good
Yeah,
friends with him.
we read his essays and we were like, so funny. Different story.
yeah.
Wow, hater.
Hater. I was like,
Yeah, I think he was going to the same college I went to.
Yeah.
I think he maybe switched to UMI. I don't know if
Yeah, he
he's even in
switched
Yeah,
to-
you
school.
go to Miami right now.
Yeah.
You went to UT, right?
Yeah, I went to
Oh,
UT
you went to UT,
briefly.
nice.
Yeah, we love Austin.
yeah, we love Austin.
But yeah, I read his essay and I was just like, yeah, dude, if I were an admissions officer, I just think you're going to drop out.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what we told him. We were like, this is not great.
He's like, I've been thinking a lot if I should go to college. I'm like, bro, you make so much money. Like, you're going to drop out. Like,
I love Zach. He's a homie. I gave
We
he
both
asked me to read
told
over
him.
his essay. I told him,
this is not what
Like
you're
one of
doing
his
to get
old
into
essays.
college.
and we know this as people who didn't get into college.
the only reason I know is I think I said like a similar thing on my essay. And I was
Yeah.
like, that was probably a mistake. Like
Yeah.
the struggle of should I go or not because I'm winning at something. But
Hilarious.
yes, you guys met middle school. You guys didn't go to the same college. Do you think you should start companies with your friends?
I actually think it's a great idea, just because finding a co-founder is incredibly difficult because it's sort of like I think it's the same as like finding someone to like date, because you got to know that you work really well with them, and the likelihood that if you found a company it's going to last a really long time is you're entering a partnership that's going to be probably like 5-10 years longer. So it's not even just like, do you argue well? Something that I think we do really well is because we're friends before like actually doing work stuff, is that we like fight all the time. And I think that's amazing. Like you should be able to fight a lot because we fight a lot and we yell, but we both know at the end of the day that, like we're here for each other. So it's fine. Like those
What's the last
conversations,
fight you guys had?
probably like yesterday.
Yeah,
You know what it was about?
Son. Do you remember?
I don't remember. It's always something random.
There's always stuff going on.
So I don't want to go to the podcast tomorrow.
Yeah, but I think fighting is super healthy. I think if you find a founder or co-founders that are like always just on the same page, it's like, how are you always on the same page?
And then
That
you're
sounds
gonna be just
scary.
Spending so much time with this person that you're actually just gonna get annoyed. If
You better like them.
if you're not friends. You're like, yeah, it's like getting married.
I think fighting is super important among co-founders, but the important part is, can we reach a resolution at the end of it that someone doesn't feel like they got steamrolled? You know what I mean?
The thing I like to really say is like, can you fight productively?
Right. What's the key to that?
Liking the other person and not like, I don't know. I feel like when fights aren't productive, they come from like, I would have a non-productive fight with someone if I like just thought they were dumb, to be honest. Because then I think no matter what they say, I just think they're going to be wrong. So fighting productively, I think, stems from respect for the other person's perspective.
100%. You have to think that they're smarter than you at a specific thing.
Right.
Right. And you have to see them building skills in it that you don't have time because you're over here and they're over here. And it's like, dude, you probably know better.
Yeah.
You know?
Deferring.
Do you guys ever feel like you're missing out on being young?
We had a huge decision before we actually dropped out of college. I loved it at Duke. I thought it was fantastic. I mean, all my friends, we would go like watch a Duke basketball game. So I was like, wow, I really, really don't want to leave. Even though the company was growing really, really well and it felt like the right decision. I think Rudy felt the same way. So what we ended up deciding on to sort of get like the best of both worlds is that everyone we work with in our house, we're also really, really close friends with. So, I mean, I think like a lot of the guys went out yesterday night together.
We did.
And they had an absolute blast.
We went
That's
clubbing
like
with UCLA kids last
UCLA
night. So
to like Rocco's. So
Nice.
I don't feel like we're missing out on being young because we're kind of doing both.
no, I think there are two like sort of stereotypical ways you imagine a company. It's like, the age disparity between people is a lot, and you're coworkers, but after work you're not hanging out. So for us, it's like we live in a house together, we eat meals together, we go out together on weekends. So it just feels like living with a large friend group. And I think if I think about the parts of college that I valued, they were the time I spent with my friends. So what we did, we just got some of our friends to drop out.
Yeah. If you can't have your friends not in college, just take your friends with you. Something that I tell some people that baffles them is we work 6 days a week with like a company, and Saturdays we have off. But on Saturdays, the entire company is still hanging out together because when we go do fun stuff, we're still friends with each other, and we choose to hang out. So
That's super crucial.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of my team is remote, but if they're all here, I would make an account to like hang out with them and stuff, because it's super important to make sure everyone is aligned logically and emotionally, you know.
yeah.
Like, I want to hear your answer on this because you
Oh,
also.
do I feel like I'm missing on being young?
Yeah, because didn't
No.
you also say you dropped out of college?
It's not something I really consider. I kind of just go with the flow of, I don't know. I feel like you're either seeking, what is it, like certainty or uncertainty. And like the reason that people drink is because they feel like they have too much certainty in their life and they want to like create a space for uncertainty. So if I'm feeling like, oh, everything is very routine, everything is very repetitive, I'll kind of like, I won't drink necessarily, but I'll go walk outside and like do something interesting. And like, I know that it's important to at least talk to one or two people every day, like have a good, genuine conversation with them. So it's one of those kind of like feely things. But I mean, I went to college, like I've partied in LA, like I have done a lot of different things. I've traveled a lot of places. And a big part of having a podcast is I thought it was something super sustainable, which is why everyone and their mother historically starts one, because like, oh, bro, like we're just gonna like hang out with the boys and like have conversations with people. It's super interesting. And like, yeah, that's true. Not at the beginning. It's true once you're like Joe Rogan, you know? But yeah, I don't really know if I'm missing out on anything. Yeah, I just feel like I had to grow up quickly and you have responsibilities and you have family to take care of. I don't really have a good answer to that one. I would say yes, probably, but I'm not sure what I missed out on.
Okay.
What'd your guys' parents say when you dropped out of school?
It was sort of like a very gradual thing because, I mean, Turbo had been succeeding for a minute, so the question had been floated multiple times. If we'd asked them like day zero when things weren't going super well, they were like, no, you're not doing that. But as soon as they saw the money per month and they were like, oh, they'll be fine.
Yeah, they'll
it's
be
okay.
right.
Yeah. So they came around. They're very supportive now. It was primarily just seeing that,
What was
like,
the number that they saw that they were like, you're good?
I mean, we dropped out pretty late.
We
were
just
already
dropped
down
out like
700
6 months ago.
Yeah, we had a month where we did like 600,000.
Yeah.
I think in a month, and they were like, okay,
while we were
cool.
in college.
Yeah, while we were in college, and they were like, you're fine. I'm sure it'll be okay.
I remember having a conversation with my mom. I was like, yeah, I'd like to drop out of school. And I like showed her my bank account. It was like $50K in it. And she was like, no. And then I was in school after my first semester and I showed her like $50K in a day. And she was like, okay.
Okay, makes sense.
Sounds fine.
And then, yeah, I'm still technically on my gap semester
Oh,
right
really?
now.
Yeah, same.
Like
Yeah,
I was like,
same here.
guys, I can just do a gap semester. Like this is really big money.
It's
You guys are
hilarious.
on your gap
Well,
semester
Yeah.
as
you're
well.
50 years old on a gap semester.
Yeah, you can't technically drop out of Duke. You can only just be on an indefinite gap semester. So
I remember calling my college and I was like, yo, how long can I still be accepted into this school if I like drop out? And they're like, yeah, you're good for like 7 years. And I was like,
nice.
okay. I think I'm approaching year 7 at this
No,
point.
really.
Wow,
So
that's
I might
crazy.
have to go back to school, boys.
Yeah.
But
See you in Texas.
this could be for each of you. What's the most important moment in your childhood to understand who you are?
That's a crazy hard question. Let me think. You can go first, Rudy.
No, but I want you to go first.
We talked about this before, like telling each other to go first whenever we didn't know the answer to a question.
No.
Can I turn it back on you first? Do you have an answer?
You want to
You
tell us
guys
you
are
go first?
crazy today. Oh my gosh. I might have to start prepping my own answers to questions.
It's a hard question.
It is a hard one. You know, a lot of the questions I ask in my interviews are ones that I don't have answers to myself, and I think they're really hard.
Yeah.
So I just add them in there, which is funny. Like I have a whole document of like questions I struggle with, and they're usually
People have to start Uno reversing you more often.
most important moment childhood to understand me. Maybe not a moment, but a theme. say two themes. I was always addicted to stuff. Like, I used to really love Buzz Lightyear for like 6 months, and then I used to really love dinosaurs for like a year, and then it was computers, and it was video games. Like, I wanted to like build video games one day, and it was just like this obsessive personality. And then another characteristic of me was I was really successful in things, but I usually sucked at them at first, like sucked way worse than other people. Like ACT, I think my sister got like a 30 her first try, like her sophomore year. And when I took it, I got like a 20, and I was like, fuck. And like, it was like always trying to keep up with her because she was super smart. And then like eventually worked my way up to the same score minus like 1 point of what she got. And like, I did competitive acting all my life. Speech and debate. I think you did that as well. Did you do that too?
No, I didn't do speech and debate.
Yeah, I was a national champion in speech and debate, but
Oh,
like
wow.
when I started, I was 12, and for context, like I did like all the acting stuff in it, and I never got like accepted for a school play. Like I never got a part in a school play, and dude, I'm from a small town in Kentucky. Like that's how bad of an actor I was, and I was just like, okay, I guess I have to like figure this thing out. Or like any video game, I don't know what it is, man. I feel like I just learn very slow, but then I become addicted to it. So it makes me learn better than other people.
Yeah.
I'd say those are
You're like a video game character. You just like level up and just keeps going.
right. I think
cool.
it's kind of a curse sometimes for people to be naturally gifted at things. They have to suck at like something to build some resilience. But I don't know. Do you guys have any moments that
I'm trying to think. This one's gonna sound really silly. But I had been building like, apps, coding. I was like a sort of math, physics kid in high school. And then going into my junior year of high school, like senior-ish, me and this one other friend who I thought was really, really, really smart, we thought just like, what are cool subjects within like computer science and stuff that we could learn? So we picked up this book, like this textbook on like theoretical like quantum algorithms and like quantum computing, not having any of the prerequisites to be able to read. This was like primarily like it was like the standard textbook for like PhDs who are trying to go into like quantum information science. And I was like, let's read it and let's see how far we can go. And we were able to do it. We got through like a lot of it. And then on top of that, we ended up building like this like sort of invented, the best way for me to explain is like invented this like new math to be able to build like a quantum circuit in virtual reality. When we were in high school, it was new research. And then we went and we like showed it to some like elementary schools and we like partnered with some people. But like the reason it's such a pivotal moment was took something that sounded so absolutely ridiculous for a high school to be able to do. And at first it was like, yeah, no, there's no shot that we could do it. And then learned it. And it honestly it wasn't like that terrible. And like from that point on, like my sort of, there was a little bit of a switch because I started thinking like, oh, listen, if I can go do theoretical quantum algorithms in high school, then, everything else should be like, it's possible. It was like,
you created a winner's effect early.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, it's sort of like instilled subconsciously within me, this mentality of like, you can just do things. Even though you're not supposed to be able to do them, you can just do them anyways.
It's so crazy how that works, man. When I was in preschool, I remember my sister teaching me multiplication, and like, I wasn't like a genius at it. Like, it didn't come natural to me, but I knew like a couple, like 3 times 3, 3 times 8, some shit. And I told my preschool teacher, like I did all the addition really easy. I was like, hey, can you give me some like multiplication problems? And just like that little small thing like led to me thinking, oh, I'm a smart kid. I want to be smarter than everyone else.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right. And then you don't really want to lose that. So it's like, maybe you get 100 on your first test ever. Right. You don't want to go below that 100 number. You ever meet kids like that got hundreds on everything?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a great story. How about you, Rudy?
I would say that when we had our old company, Workbeat, the Christmas lights company, we would go to all these business competitions and we'd always win first place because we were like one of the only, 13, 14-year-olds of the company that made money. And then we once were talking to, this was like when we were 16, talking to, you can call him an investor about our company. And he basically looked at us and was like, this is not scalable at all. It is not a good idea at all. The presentation I just saw you guys do is full of fluff. If I was a real VC and I saw this, I would probably not even take a meeting with you guys. And this was following basically like 2 or 3 years of everyone around us telling us that like we're so great at what we do, and us in retrospective to like everyone our age, doing good. And that was sort of I think a big unlock where it's like you need to stop comparing yourself to like the status quo of what's around you. The race that you're fighting isn't with people in your neighborhood that are your age. You're technically competing with like everyone. Like, just because you did something slightly better than someone in your hometown doesn't mean that you're talented at all. There are people like Elon who are absolutely mogging you in every way.
Wow.
So yeah, I would say like the main, honestly, like thing that that it took me a while to realize that I've been thinking about is just because you're doing okay for your age doesn't mean anything.
Tragic realization.
Yeah, damn.
Yeah.
Always be sad. 'cause there's something.
Always be sad.
Yeah, there's always someone better than you. that
Did you
can
guys have
get
a
inspired by?
trait when you were younger that, I mean, this whole conversation is about to sound self-aggrandizing, but did you like always want to be like the smartest kid for your age?
Yeah.
Did you have that as well?
I would say so. I
it
also
was kind of toxic, to be honest. Like, not for me personally, but like in the area in like Texas that I'm like from, like everyone just literally cares about, like, I don't know if you guys had like class ranks,
Yeah.
but like class ranks are the most important thing, especially for Texas, because you top 6% get into UT, and everybody wants to go UT, and if you want to go into like UT computer science, you got to be in like the top 10 people. So at least for me, like at least a part of my identity in high school was literally the fact that I was like whatever, like rank 1 or 2.
Right.
1 or 2.
I was 1 when I applied to college or whatever. Okay.
Dude, same.
Yeah.
I was one when I applied to college, and then I was 2 at the end of it because I wanted to game the system perfectly.
Yeah.
I was like, college is all that matters. I don't care about giving a valedictorian speech.
The guy that got number 2 is so sad for college.
That's really funny. Those are both really fascinating moments, and I really like yours. I really like both yours. It seems like yours was about creating a winner's effect early and dreaming bigger. Then yours was about a humbling moment early, which made you dream bigger. And it's funny to hear that from 2 of the most successful 21-year-olds in the world, quite literally, if not number 1 or number 2. What are the weirdest ways people use your AI tool?
I saw a hilarious one where some dude uploaded like a PDF of his suspension from his school for punching a kid, and asked a question about how to like what email should he use to respond. So there's some comical ways.
I saw someone upload their like social security documents, and I was like, why are we doing this? It just doesn't make sense. Like, this can't, like, imagine that was his first PDF he ever uploaded. I was like, you're trying out a new AI tool that you saw on TikTok.
Wait, that's low-key valid?
And this is the first thing that you upload?
No, it's low-key valid, right? Because a lot of times when I'm trying out a new piece of software and you have to input some material, you click on input and then it shows you your most recent files. So he was probably just paying his taxes.
No
before.
justification. No justification.
Do you both want to be billionaires?
I wouldn't say it's a want. I'd say it's like being a billionaire is a side effect of having a company that's super large. So the actual want just happens to be, I like what I'm doing and I want to go as far as I can. The side effect is might become a billionaire. But I personally, like, if you gave me $1 billion right now, I probably wouldn't do anything with it. So it's not like a desire.
How about you?
I hold the same perspective. I don't want to come across as, oh, I'm so humble, I don't care about money. I do care about having nice things, but I think the difference between having $10 million and $1 billion is not going to be radically different. As long as you can have, the ability to travel anytime you want and maybe a nice house, a nice car. I think after that's law of diminishing returns when it comes to happiness.
I don't really know, like, after, like, let's say $10 million, I don't understand why you or what you would want more with. Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
I think the only argument you can make is you can use the $1 billion to like build something else that maybe you couldn't have before.
Sure.
Like,
I mean, you can.
I mean, right now when we're doing Turbo, we do care that it's a revenue generating business.
But I don't like that perspective because anything that can sustain itself in the long term has to be
revenue.
it has to be, it has to work by itself.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're always just going to be the cycle of raising money. And then let's say you start with, I don't know, the example I saw, let's say you start with a company that you're trying to cure cancer and it doesn't generate money. So that means you have to get external funding. And by the time you're on round 3 of generating funding, you can't even make the decisions anymore because it is now the shareholders and the investors. So now they are actually deciding the fate of this company that's curing cancer, and God knows what they're going to do with it. Right. So anything that actually solves a societal problem in the long run, it has to be like profitable on like its unit economics. So
this is a super important concept for people to understand. Can you explain that to me like I'm 5? Because I want people to understand this.
So the central problem is if you're approaching building a company for the reason that you want to help the world, which is like a very, very noble cause, that's fantastic. We think that way as well. It's not enough to just solve a problem. That company needs to generate enough money to sustain itself independently. And if it doesn't, you have to find external sources of funding to be able to, keep the company alive. Now, the biggest problem with looking at external funding is whenever someone else puts money into your company, they get equity, which is a say in how you actually run that business. And if you give away enough equity in your company, in your own company, you don't actually make the decisions anymore. The people that you've given the equity to make those decisions. So even in a situation where you started off with a noble cause, if you take enough external funding because the business itself didn't generate enough money to sustain itself, you're now in a situation where your baby, your company that you've built and you've spent so many years on is now potentially going for a cause that actually might be exploiting the people just because increasing prices or making certain business decisions is in the interest of the shareholders, the people who have given you the money, but not in the interest of the people, which is why you started the company to begin with. And it's a really, really slippery slope.
Did you guys raise any money?
We raised a little bit about 1.5 years ago, less than $1 million, but right now we have like full control.
What was the decision to raise money, given that you guys had already had some capital success?
It would allow us to take bigger risks without having to worry about, is this company going to go bankrupt?
Yeah. And honestly, back then, we were a lot less knowledgeable. The reason we took money is because our investor, she was like a nice lady. And she was like literally friendly to us. She was like, oh, I really like you guys. And she was like kind of like a mom. And she was like, I can help you. And we're like, okay, cool. Sounds good. We'll take it.
It was a 15-minute phone call. And at the end, she just wanted to invest. And she sent the wire in like 2 days after that.
Yeah.
And we were just like,
cool.
Sure, why not? Like, we weren't thinking, let's run a process. Let's go out there and talk to 30 investors. We just took the phone call with her. We actually, at the time, weren't even taking investor phone calls. We would just tell them all that we'll talk later when we want to raise the round. But we just took the call because a friend recommended her as a nice mentor. And we liked her, and the terms were fair. So,
how much money have you guys turned down in the past?
Oh, well, we don't even take the calls. So the answer is, I don't know, a lot. No, I remember having a lot of calls like maybe like 1 year ago where like we were considering raising some money, and the calls would be very, very flipped. It wasn't us trying to say, please give us your money. It was them saying like, take my money. And we were just like, how do we use this money? And then they were at like a loss of words and we were like, oh, okay,
I remember the part where I was like, number one, great investor, so glad he did this. But number two, it made me like feel like, wow, we've actually built something cool. Is we were in New York and this investor really wanted to invest in us, and we didn't have time for a meeting. So he was like, can I join you guys in the Uber to the airport, book a flight, and then talk to you guys at the terminal
just
while
so
we're waiting,
just
so we can talk to you. So
that was crazy. Cool. Yeah.
Gosh, we'll have to do a follow-up and see if you guys get any interesting deals from this podcast. But
Yeah.
what's a belief you hold about business or startups that most people would strongly disagree with?
Strongly disagree with.
And I'm not going to answer this one.
I was about to turn it back.
Yeah, what's your take?
I was about to turn it back. That's most people would strongly disagree with. That's quite hard.
That's a hard one.
I hold a lot of startup or business takes, but I don't know if people would like really disagree with
I
them.
have one. I think that if you're a consumer company, founder-led brands are bullshit. Like, I think that there's not much of a reason for you to put your face out there and build in public, other than to build up your own personal brand and get the personal benefits that come from it. Like, I think if your main motivation is I like having influence and I just think it's cool to have a lot of followers, then totally makes sense. But I think the justification of I'm going to build in public as a consumer company in order to attract more users or make the company better, I don't think it matters that much. Because if you're a company at scale, at the end of the day, your source of distribution is going to be all the social media channels you have rather than you being the face of the brand.
I'm going to go off that. This is my take and a version of this as well. Your competitive advantage is the thing that keeps you from scaling. I think Hormozy said that, and that was like really crazy for me to hear. I was like, oh my gosh, we're doing this, this, and this right. And none of these other guys are doing it. I'm like, they don't have to do it. You know, we just spoke with Amjad Masab before you guys, and he's like, oh yeah, I haven't really thought about marketing. I'm like, what do you mean you haven't thought about marketing? It's like the company makes tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. Just like, oh, yeah, just kind of like word of mouth. I kind of went on to podcasts and I was like, okay, people play these games differently. But what's yours?
Yeah, I was gonna say, this is gonna sound silly. I don't think it's super important to hire people with concrete skills. And the reason I say that is something that I found about people, even founders, just people in general, that make the best, most valuable assets to a business. If you have to talk to someone for 10 minutes and guess how important or valuable they're going to be, there's one metric that I've seen time over time that is the most valuable thing. And whether it's I'm hiring for like an engineer, an operations person, it doesn't matter what it is. They don't need to, if I'm hiring from an engineer, I don't even ask them like what programming languages they're proficient in. Quite frankly, I don't care. I don't care which courses they took, nothing. It's, do they have a history of excellence in anything? Because I'm a big fan of how you do anything is how you do everything. So if they were I was just talking to this girl, a competitive rower who was like a national champion, I think the skills that it takes to be good in any discipline, like really, really good, like top 0.1%, are actually super duper similar across the board. It takes being able to wake up day over day, put a lot of time into one thing and continuously get better. And then the hard part is being able to do it over a really, really long period of time. And if you're top 0.1% in something and you're able to be super excellent at one discipline, the likelihood that those skills transfer over is likely. So the number one thing that I look for in new people instantly is, I don't care what it is, but what is this person like the best at? And if they don't have that, which a lot of people don't have, I'm instantly a negative signal. But I don't care what that thing is. If they're a top 100 league player, that's very interesting to me.
To go off that concept, something I think about too is maybe not the fastest, or maybe not the person who's number one, but the person who's the fastest growing in a thing. So like if we looked at all the AI apps right now and it's like, okay, who had the best like week on the dollar in terms of user growth? Like, was there some small startup that had like a bunch of like new users to their app? It's like, this is the person that's best at marketing this week. And this is the person we look at. We don't look at OpenAI for marketing inspiration. We look at the 18-year-old kid that was scrappy and figured out some algorithm trick on TikTok because it was acquired by Oracle. So there's probably something there right now. And yeah, I think that's a big reason people love these conversations with young guys that did it differently. What predictions do you guys have for AI in 2026?
It's a hard one.
I think that this is the year we're going to start to see a lot more jobs become automatable. I think up until recently,
Pessimistic take.
yeah, it is a pessimistic take, but I think up until
Super
recently,
pessimistic.
AI has been smart enough to do a lot of jobs, but it's not been like connected to the right tools. Whereas now, AI is actually able to do stuff.
Agents.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you think is the most valuable skill right now in the age of AI?
I'm going to give a boring answer. I think because of AI, a lot of people, what I like to call like shiny object syndrome, where you just jump from thing to thing every single week. And the difficult part about becoming really, really good at any skill is just doing it over a long period of time. And so the skill that is actually most important in an age where information is so accessible, you could be learning a million different things, is actually learning to not learn a million things and focus down on one thing and double down on it. Any skill, if it's coding, how do you become better at coding? You code more. How do you become better at running? You run more. How do you become better at lifting? You lift more, right? It's actually like the frameworks for success are surprisingly simple, but just because it's simple, it doesn't make it easy. So we have more information. AI is capable of doing more. I think the hardest challenge is preventing yourself from doing so many things, which is kind of ironic.
I started the podcast. A big reason was the goal of finding the opportunity that was making the most money at the moment, or just which businesses were most lucrative in general. And after like months and months and months of me trying different things on the side and me seeing all these like great opportunities, I was like, oh shit, I got good at podcasting while I was doing this. And I was like, it got to the point where I was like, yeah, all these opportunities are super sexy, but I think by the time I killed this thing and started that, I would probably end up in the same place a few months from now. And then now it's at the point where it's like I would end up behind myself on the trajectory I was going.
Exactly. Just makes sense.
On the topic of shiny object syndrome, what AI apps have you guys wanted to build in the past few months that you haven't built out?
Interesting question, actually.
Having done it like couple times now with Umax, Turbo, and there's some other stuff. It's the actual process for building a company is somewhat formulaic. We boiled it down to virality, paywalls, retention. So when you think about it, it's actually quite simple. And sort of the reason, and because it's relatively simple, and we have shiny object syndrome, my mind recently has been just gravitating towards different problems that I have a lot less knowledge about, just because they would be more fun and harder challenges. So my mind's really just been in okay, if everybody is doing AI consumer apps and software and coding tools are becoming so amazing, so it's the barrier to entry is dropped, my mind is thinking, okay, what is the next challenge where the barrier to entry actually is still pretty high, and how can we jump on that early? And my mind instantly goes to hardware, biotech startups, actually integrating AI more into the physical world. That's where I think still has a large barrier to entry. You don't see 12-year-olds making robotic startups right now. And maybe one day we will. I wouldn't be that surprised if your 14-year-old can whip up a biotech company, but right now that's not the case. So I think that, tying back to our conversation earlier on which problems are early on that adoption curve, I think it's the ones concerned with like the physical sciences.
Physical goods integrating AI.
Yes.
And TikTok Shop is bigger than ever, just
Right.
has new management. So if you can build something in that, it's very interesting.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
This isn't an app idea, but I think something that's a really interesting opportunity is if we were to look at the viral marketing that Turbo is doing with UGC content, applying that towards an industry that isn't in the app space. So a very concrete example, if you were to think about an up-and-coming songwriter who, you know, the music industry, like the record label who has a deal with them, decides that we really want to put them in the spotlight, I think it'd be really interesting if you get dozens of kids who play the guitar to sing their songs and put like credits to them in there to blow it up before a viral release. So I think it's like, I don't know what the industries are because I honestly haven't given it much thought because I've just been so focused on Turbo. But I think taking this form of viral marketing that we do and applying it to like industries outside of the consumer app space is really, really interesting because like every app is doing it, but not a lot of products that aren't software are trying to do this. Taking like the TikTok shop or Turbo approach to in an industry that's traditionally not used to that form of marketing.
Like I could have 5 influencers cut up fruit and be like, yeah, I was watching the Jack Neel podcast today and he said this really interesting thing about this. And people would never know that's an ad.
Exactly. Like, okay, this is probably illegal, so don't do this, but I'll give you an example, right? There was a meme coin that launched.
Okay.
So I didn't do this. It was a meme coin that was launched a couple months ago by a group of people. And what they did is they launched the meme coin and they gave Trump 10% of the supply. Like they just sent Trump's crypto wallet 10% of the supply. And then they hired a bunch of creators to make content about, oh my God, Trump owns 10% of this coin. It is going to go up. And I think it hit like a market cap of like $80 million. So
don't pump and dump, guys.
Do not pump and dump, but
Don't pump and dump.
there's inspiration and ideas everywhere.
Right.
It's terrible.
For what you can do.
I would guess that, crypto is a good, like the places where money is the easiest to make, you can learn a lot about marketing,
Yeah.
Huh.
It tends to be where a lot of talent concentrates itself.
I also think that content targeting older people has not really been cracked yet. I mean, it's something we're working on at Turbo, but if you think about it, all of the content creators right now are younger. And a lot of the short form content that goes viral is on TikTok where, it's typically people under 30. There's not that much viral marketing being done to 60, 70-year-olds. So I think there's a huge opportunity there if you can create a factory of grandmas who are good at talking to the camera.
Sounds terrible.
It sounds terrible, but if you can crack it, there's so much money because this group and this demographic has a lot of money to spend on
I think the core
products.
problem is that there's not on short forms that much.
Well, they're on Facebook.
Yeah.
And Facebook Reels is the thing. We haven't explored it much, but we're going to.
I think that's genius. Yeah. I mean, it's super interesting how people's user base is often reflective of the UGC creators they're using. It's like,
exactly.
Makes sense.
like I tried to get my mom on TikTok shop. I was like, you can sell to moms better than I can sell to moms. You know what I mean? And moms buy shit more. So it's like, in your guys' case though, it does make sense to utilize more college students unless there are different use cases that come out in the future. Like learn about X thing, learn about Y thing. But so you guys are 21 years old. You make $1 million a month. Your app gets 30,000 new users every single day. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Working on myself now that I wish I had done earlier is having a much, much, much quicker turnaround time between thought and action. So if I think of an idea, it's really, really easy to be able to just keep thinking about it because thinking is actually the easy step. You don't have to do anything. Just making yourself habits where you bias towards action in all areas of your life, not just company building, is, I think, like a fantastic habit that'll just make you move a lot faster and just like sort of compound yourself quicker. There's a lot of buzzwords there, I apologize, but just biasing towards action quicker is just, I feel like it's the compounding effects are ridiculous. Not like saying like, even if something gets simple, like I'm going to go for a run, I'll do it tomorrow, just like putting stuff off. No, just go right now. The time's going to pass anyways, right? Biasing towards action more.
What happens if you don't do that?
I think the effects only manifest over a long period of time because you'll just be sitting there and you're going to think, wow, all this time has passed and I feel like I could have been more productive. So it's a little insidious because there's a lot of tasks that feel productive but aren't. For example, if I'm thinking about Turbo and I'm planning, I did this. I was like pacing around for a little bit, and I thought like, wow, that was a super productive 30 minutes. I didn't actually accomplish anything. So honestly, it comes back to another thing, which is lying to yourself is actually strangely common. And I think it was someone that told me this a while ago, and I just like brushed him off. I was like, I don't lie to myself. What? That's crazy. But then as I really thought about it, and I've been like journaling over the past month, like really writing down every single thing that I do, and then looking at it at the end of the day and looking back at it like every single day. And I'm like, wow, I lie to myself a lot, and I didn't even know. And that was just a crazy revelation.
If you're listening to this podcast right now and you came to it with the frame of I'm being productive right now and you don't take action on anything said, like you are lying to yourself. If you came with it the frame of this is for entertainment and I'm interested in these guys' stories, then good, like you're being honest with yourself. But I'm guessing most people who are 2.5 hours into a podcast are taking action. So good job to you guys. What's yours?
I would say that a mentor of mine told me that once you get your company from 0 to 1, you really have to reflect on what your job at the company is and what are the steps you're taking to grow the company, because the skills that are required to scale a company from 1 to 10 versus 0 to 1 are radically different. And at first, when I heard that advice, I sort of brushed it off because I was like, wait, we sort of figured it out. We know how to get views. We know that the most important thing is getting views and building a product that people want. We're good at engineering. We're good at marketing. We'll be fine. We'll figure it out. But at first, when I hired a lot of these people, I was like really bad at managing people. It took me a long time to actually uh, figure out like here are effective ways to empower people and get them to lean into their strengths and to keep them motivated and to be organized. So I would say it's honestly like if you're someone who's running a company, just to recognize that the things that you're doing at the very start and the skills you develop from that are truly radically different when it comes time to growing a company. And I think if I would have like thought more deeply about that and really like let that advice resonate in a year and a half ago when I was told it and reflect, probably would have been for the better.
That's also great advice. I'm glad that you guys on your first ever podcast are such good speakers and have such great thoughts. I can't wait to do another one and see where this company goes. Well, everyone, this has been your guest, Rudy and Sarthak, founders of Turbo Learn. This is the Jack Neel Podcast. I appreciate you boys coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you, brother.